and welcome back to the only show that breaks down, cracks up, skews, and reviews each week's DC Comics. I'm a brave boy, Eric Shea.
You son of a bitch. I planned it all week. I'm a brave boy, Jim Werner.
You're not a brave boy.
I was. I'm a brave boy. I'm a big boy, Jim Werner.
This is the Weird Science DC Comics Podcast, episode number 478.
I even thought to myself, you know what? I think that he might do it, but maybe not. Maybe he'll forget because me and you ended up looking into a lot of the Golden
Pinky
Age sidekicks, and we looked into Pinky the Whiz Kid. I'm a brave boy. I'm like, oh, wait. And just as an aside, if you did read The Stargirl, The Lost Children, and you did want to know more about Pinky, you can look up his origin. You could look up his first appearance. They're actually, I was going to say common law. They're actually,
that's common law, everybody.
What is it where you can end up
public domain?
Public domain, yeah. You can find
common law, everybody.
Common law. They're married. You didn't know this? But yeah, I ended up going on a site that has all that public domain stuff, and I got a couple of the issues. They're tough. They're tough to read through, but Pinky actually was, and why he's Whiz Kid is because he ended up figuring out the identity of Mr. Scarlet, just like a Tim Drake with Batman. I thought that was pretty neat, Eric. Pretty neat.
He's a brave boy.
He is a brave boy. He says it like three times in the first deal. At the end, they're like, oh my God, do you really think that you're going to be able to be a sidekick? Because he does actually blackmail Mr. Scarlet to make him the sidekick. And
just
he's like, I don't know. He goes, I don't know. Are you going to be able to do it? And he said, I'm a brave boy. And then they all laughed. And then he died the next issue.
That's what he does.
He ended up doing okay. But really, the redesigns of the costumes,
amazing.
They're so much better. Like when people got upset where you had, I think it was Ryan Sook who redesigned some of the Legion of Superheroes with Bendis and some of the things that people lost their mind. Nobody's losing their mind at the reinvention of the sidekicks costumes. They're really good
Sparky
now.
Looks the way he does.
Everybody looked the same. If you're like, oh, I'm with the Mr. Scarlet, then you just have a red thing with your name initial on it. That's almost always what it was. But hey, everybody, welcome to the show. I was planning to have a bit of an April foolery here with the April Fool's Day. But
like
Eric
some kind of
doesn't like
jackass.
that. Me and you don't like that, and I thought it would be fun for me to do it. Well, I don't. Well, I'm not doing it, but I thought it'd be fun to just play and not tell you so that the reaction was all natural. But I couldn't think. And then I was thinking I was just going to say, I quit the show, and Eric's going to continue on with his buddy Bruno. But then you would be like, what? You wouldn't go along with it. But hey, everybody, it's April Fool's Day as we're recording here. And so do I. And, with all of that, though, welcome all you weirdos. Welcome to the Get Fresh crew. And we have a bunch of books tonight. Not all of them are great. But
every week.
As we do in the Get... I think it's a little worse this week, but that's just me. But as we do in the Get Fresh crew, we're going to have fun with that. That is the motto, the mantra, the whatever you want to call it, of the Get Fresh crew.
Took Jim over 400 episodes to figure out, we can just have fun with these books. I'm like, I know.
That's the thing. All along, everybody was having fun. I thought I was teaching them, Eric, but they were teaching me.
Papa, teach us, your children.
I was screaming and yelling, and then I was giggling when you were yelling. That wasn't fun for me. I was losing my mind. But tonight, I will tell you, I did a little screaming of my own, just by myself.
Why? What's wrong with you, psychopath?
Well, it wasn't the comics. I was yelling at Tanya.
Okay.
It's just, I was reading some of these books, and there's a weird play going on, even with our spotlight this week on the Patreon Spotlight, which, if you wanted to know, Eric, I lost my page. It was Doom Patrol, Unstoppable Doom Patrol #1, and Stargirl Lost Children #5. But I don't know. There's something missing sometimes lately with these storytellings. I don't get it. I don't understand. I think it's editorial because it's across the line of issues not giving you a full story or getting convoluted. I don't know, Eric. I don't like it. But as I was going to say later when I do lose my mind, is the idea that for the most part, though, the good stuff is the Dawn of DC stuff. So hopefully that'll continue on. And
definitely Harley Quinn #28, right?
Well, I'm not considering that a Dawn of DC. I ended up doing a video review for that already. I said that is null and void to me. I'm not including it. But we have some stuff coming up like Green Arrow, which I'll tell you is really good. But September seems to be the month now that they're loading up a bunch of books because I know
September?
that Eric, yes, September. When we get to that, we have
it's so far away.
I know it is. It is, Eric. It is just like your heart to me. You have the Flash, Wonder Woman coming back. You have Ironworks. You end up having the Hawkgirl book, and now the newly announced Batman and Robin book, all in September. Yeah, that Iron deal. The Steelworks, I meant.
Okay.
You couldn't figure out that that's what
I honestly thought that was coming out next month, so when you talk about stuff coming out in September, I'm like, what the hell is Ironworks?
No, that's all September. Ironworks. Right. Ironworks and Bird Girl. They're all coming out in September, Eric, right? And then there's Bat Guy and Tweety is also.
DC
but yeah,
Comics.
It is the Batman and Robin with Damian back, so that's cool. I wonder what's going on with Tim Drake, though. Oh, my. He's being forgotten again, Eric, just like you. He's one of the lost children, but he's a brave boy. But hey, everybody, if you want to, talk to us along the way, you could go over to the Twitters at Weird Science DC. Follow us. We'll follow you on back. Hit our website, WeirdScienceDCComics.com. Check out reviews there from Gabe, right? And then go to our Patreon, patreon.com/WeirdScience. Yeah, a little. Some video stuff. I did do a written review of Blue Beetle this week. Thanks for reminding me, Eric.
I thought you did like 4 this week.
No, I did that, and I did like 4 videos, but only one written review. The video's a lot easier, Eric. Even though I write up a review and then go from it, but I should just put it up there. But on the Patreon, if you go there, there's a bunch of shows, exclusive shows, a lot of shows with some classic books, a lot of reading clubs that aren't even just DC. We have a Walking Dead reading club, a Hellboy reading club, but some stuff DC, like Gotham Central reading club, an Injustice reading club, all that stuff. But we also have...
Now selling the DC parts.
We also have... I didn't know what I was saying. And then we also have our Patreon-only Spotlight and exclusive podcast each and every Thursday, picked by the badasses of the Get Fresh crew.
Big Boo!
They picked 2 books, and this week they picked Stargirl, The Lost Children, number 5, and Unstoppable Doom Patrol, number 1, as we
Thank
already
God that
said.
patience there.
Yeah. And you end up having there's another Dawn of DC book that some people are excited about. But yeah, check out our Patreon. You can get a lot of shows. You wouldn't allow it, and so it's not on there. It's not going on there now. I wasn't quite so fond of it, is what I will say right now, right? Is that how you would say it?
You didn't dislike it as much as you originally thought, though, by the end.
You actually had me liking it more by the end, so I do appreciate that. I thank you. I thank you for that, Eric.
You're welcome.
I don't know what's going on tonight. Hey, everybody.
I do.
Here
podcast.
is the badass roll call for all them badass.
No.
They call me Jim, and I'm here to say that I'm a brave boy almost every day. We have Michael Jordan.
Not anymore.
Eric Shea, Double K, Jeffrey Greek, Zach Walker, Stephen Batdad Mitchell, The Annihilator, Ted Probst, I Love Punchline, Stork, Michael S. Ham, Matt Razor, D-Man 3000, Niels T-Work, David Fink, Stephen Baum, Jason Colby, Sue 42 to you and me, Michael G, Ken Howlett, Comic Boom Rocky, The Grinning Man.
I'll never forget him.
It's not sexy now. I do remember
What are you talking
him.
about? Last week you told me that after that issue of Nightwing, I will never remember the Grinning Man. And I told you I will never forget the Grinning Man. 1 week running.
I'll get back to that. Mark Jager, Ruben, Carlos, Noah Marv, Matthew Rapier, Luke Hollywood, Simon, Luis, Andrew Belfast, Swanee, Anthony G, Josh Vermillion, my man Pete from NYC, Batman Beyond Mark, Brandy Murray up there in Buffalo and doxing his ass in Minnesota, Double A Ron, and all-time greats. We got Reginald Drinkwater and Rob Lewis, and possibly Manship. I can't get a hold of the guy.
I don't think he's dead.
He has disappeared. He's disappeared, and I looked. I have not heard from him in a year. And then I went and searched him out. I was, stalking, and I see weird stuff going on that I forgot to tell you about. But yeah, the thing that I said to remember is, you said Grinning Man, right? So I say that, or somebody did. And I'm sitting there as I'm talking, like, the fuck was that from? I swear to God, I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, and then you said it, I'm like, oh, well, I guess I was right, at least for me. But yeah, with all that, those are the badasses. Thank the badasses. Thanks, everybody on the Patreon, as you know, you carry over into the next month. And this is one of those recordings that we do on the first of the month. So thanks, everybody. one and all. But we're going to go off to the books. Like we said, we have a plethora plus 2. Got a bunch of craziness, and maybe what I think is the worst book I've ever read, but also has some of the best moments the book has ever had. It's a weird play, but that'll be at the end.
See you in 3 hours.
What we're talking about. See you in 20 hours. All right, but that's it. We're going to go off and start the show. Yes, Eric, Draw Blood. Here we go. And I said it before, and I will be able to play that song for many a year, it seems. I mean, seriously. And we actually get a little backstory of old Ten Claw. Right?
Do we? He's mentioned.
I saw him going through the desert or something.
Yeah.
Get that. One thing that I do have to kind of tip my hat, maybe even take it off, Eric, and look to the heavens and say, boy, I really hope. No, I actually thought, well, maybe, I don't know. I really thought they might, and I hope they would forget that Ubu had been killed. I thought that by now they would have said, we brought him back. We brought Ubu back. He was only
forgotten about being dead in the Lazarus reign. Here he is still dead, thankfully.
Yeah, he is. Maybe it's mentioned because he will just be coming back, Lazarus stuff. Maybe the Lazarus already got him. I don't know. Hey, I hear there's resin around, the rain, this and that. I said, I would have been collected in a freaking milk jug selling that shit.
Can't do it. Government doesn't allow that.
Yeah, I guess not. Oh, well. But hey, everybody, we have a bunch of books in this section. 3 big bangers, including the big event, the Lazarus Planet, Revenge of the Gods. Every time I say Lazarus Planet, I get angry and I don't remember the rest. But we also end up having Action Comics and Detective Comics, and all 3 of those are reviewed over at our site, WeirdScienceDCComics.com. You can go and check those out. But with all of that, Eric, I say we get right into this. And if you are playing at home, we have switched and continue to switch Action Comics first, right, Eric? Because it's the stronger of the book. Is that what you
people
say?
Care?
No, they don't. But maybe some people do. Maybe you're like,
oh my God, Detective Comics is still not first.
I still haven't recovered. Oh my goodness, what shade they throw here. Oh my goodness, there, yonder. Actually, the funny play is we're talking like that, we'll be talking like that when we read that dialogue in the Detective Comics. But Eric, take it away.
Action Comics number 1053, and our first story is written by Philip Kennedy Johnson with art by Rafa Sandoval, Matt Herms, and Dave Sharp. And in this, we continue our Superman family story as they're taking on Metallo. And the thing is, this issue does a lot right for me. For some reason, though, everything about this anthology, Action Comics that we have going on, everything feels really short. And for some reason, the Power Girl story feels way too damn long, even though it's the same amount of pages that it always has. But it's just very, very interesting. But we have the idea where in the previous issue, Metallo went after those Blue Earthers, boom tubed them back to the place where he was created as Metallo, and then made them into other Metallos, the Necro army that they have now. And now these people are going to be going after John Henry Irons and the rest of the Superman family. And it's a cool little action scene because you up the stakes for Metallo. And it's a weird situation because you have all the kryptonite affecting the superheroes. Supergirl goes down right away and the kryptonite's in her bloodstream. We have to get her to Star Labs. Actually, we have to get her to Kalex to try to siphon that out, get a solar suit on her because we can't have any of the super family dead. But you've upped the stakes with the idea of Metallo, made him a threat again. But it's not even the coolest part of the book because in the background of all of this, we've been complaining about the idea of the dawn of DC. Why doesn't this book feel like it's actually matching up with what's going on with the Superman and with Lex Luthor and the Superman Corp? And Lex talks about the idea. Yes, I did this Metallo thing before I had the idea to do this. It seemed like something I wanted to do, but things were my hand was pushed to the point where I actually had to back you with the Superman Corp and what we're doing right now. And the thing is, we've been sitting here. What is up with Metallo? Is Lex Luthor talking to him through a holographic projector that's in his head while he's in prison? Is it an AI of Lex Luthor and all this stuff? Lex Luthor doesn't seem to be very concerned about the idea that he put a new, John Corbin in a new Metallo body. But when he hears that John Corbin's hearing voices, seeing hallucinations, now he's interested. And you've really just made War World interesting again, because while we know that War World is still out there satelliting, the Earth, and we have refugees that are being allowed in, not being allowed in because the Blue Earthers are saying, we ain't letting no stinking aliens on our blue planet. You have this still going on, but we're not really doing much. But when you talk about the idea of Metallo's new body being rebuilt using War World technology, that's cool because we don't know what else got in there with that technology.
And I think that's cool. And I do think that War World zipped away. I think that when they had that at one
already?
point.
For some reason, I thought it was just hanging out because we didn't do much with it. I think that they said
in that, 1050 deal, when I think they said, hey, we'll go and hey, we'll figure it out. I actually like and hope that I am right. because then you can't just go and figure it out. Oh, I'm going to go to you really don't know what's going on with that suit. And this is the thing. I was talking to you before, and now I realized before, me and you were talking before we recorded, and I was talking about how, man, this anthology bit of and I think that's when I couldn't hear you because we had a problem with the deal, because I said, and you just said it, the anthology bit of this makes this feel like I can't even explain it.
3 stories that you don't get enough of each issue.
Yeah, and yet the page count is still kind of the same. It's weird. But by the end, and I'll blame that Power Girl story, which when we get to it, that's a bunch of hogwash.
Imagine if we just had 2 stories that were really good and interesting.
It's a weird play with the idea where if I say, man, I just wish it was the Philip Kennedy Johnson Action Comics story, I really do think that. I wish that this was alone by itself. But people will say, but we like that Dan Jurgens deal. But those are all going to flip-flop around and things like that.
Things that already happened, they have no real consequence in the current continuity because it's already happened. We know that nothing bad can happen overall. More so that what already bad has happened to John Kent besides this. But it's one of those stories where it's like, here you go, everybody, a young John Kent. And it's fine, but when I get there, like, the thing is, like, what are we doing with our small page space with this that's very interesting overall?
And that's my problem is, as you read the story, because I think there's some great moments in this Philip Kennedy Johnson deal.
Me too.
And then the Dan Jurgens, it's fine. It's nice. But it's less.
It's just such a backhand. It's fine.
It's still less than this Philip Kennedy Johnson story. And then you fall off the precipice into the pits of hell for that Power Girl. So by the end,
where's that goofy wow as you fall off?
I don't have a great feeling when I get done. I should really just read the Action Comics part, the Philip Kennedy Johnson part.
Yeah.
Right away, and then just think of and then 2 days later go and read that. I don't know. It just ends up when I'm done, it doesn't feel as big as...
You really soured this
I'm
up,
not as
you,
excited.
Power Girl?
And I understand the problem is, and if anybody's out there and they're like, what, you're crazy, like this whole thing's great, or if you're
Who's saying that?
Everybody, they all yell at me, but the idea...
About Leah Williams' Power Girl?
No, about all this and how we're saying the anthology, because I do think people will maybe like the anthology. The reason the anthology part of this is here is because nobody was buying that Philip Kennedy Johnson Action Comics. And whether or not you sit there and crow about it, it's the best book ever. Who was buying it? Nobody was buying it. Yeah, nobody. They were they weren't, walking the walk. They were only talking the talk, Eric. And that's a shame. It is. Now it's lucky for Philip Kennedy Johnson that he gets to continue, unlike Jeremy Adams on The Flash, because those books were around the same area in the sales and things like that. They weren't good. But what I like about this Philip Kennedy Johnson book, and you kind of touched on the big things, is that it's a continuation of his War World story, but it doesn't dominate.
Which felt like it upped the ante of War World and Mongol and stuff like that. And then we bring Metallo back, which is Metallo's a character I love, and it feels like you might be upping the ante of that as well, with Lex Luthor in the background continuing on here, but also doing his own thing.
And I like that
Superman as well. Exactly.
Yeah, tying in is great.
We were really afraid that it wasn't.
Tying in while still maintaining his story going forward. I'm glad that they allowed him to do that, because there would be some sort of, idea that editorial might have of like, nobody was doing that, so let's shove that away.
Such a weird idea, though, where Metallo is almost just a rogue agent now, which makes sense with the new information that we're given here. But ultimately, it's like, yeah, I gave John Corbin a new body. Just wanted him to go and mess up Steelworks a little bit. I'm like, that was your end goal?
Yeah, that was just his end goal. He wanted to, do some tomfoolery.
I did Project Black. I had some Metallo stuff, but now it's all about that hot-ass Superman Corp.
And, what I like also about this, you have big moments. Kara goes down. She's hit by kryptonite. She's in big trouble. But then you also have one of these guys that's kind of been changed by Metallo. And Metallo doesn't care. They're just,
they're fodder. Exactly. They're freaking just an army that they could throw away at this point.
And then we remember, oh yeah, Keenan, I remember you were kind of a piece of shit, because he's like, what do we care about these guys?
He's not a piece of crap. He is questioning morality and how he sees things right now, and he's working through things with the best teacher ever, Superman. Why are these people worth saving? Because if we don't save them now, they'll never have a chance to change, and that is the worst thing ever.
Yeah, this is their last moment. Their last action is evil. They can have a chance
Great Superman
change.
Bits.
And Keenan says, okay, but to me, and I'll aside real quick, I hope to God that you end up having first off, I'd love to have the Justice League of China in this book, one of the stories, if we'd ever get to that with Beiji and Keenan and all that. But I think that there's a play here. They really should have John and Keenan kind of come together, and because they both really were thrown into this and didn't really get, John aging in a volcano, but Keenan, he didn't really have any training.
If you do any of this, then you have to describe how Khan Keenan got his powers.
No, they're never going to go with that.
And you can't do that anymore because of
He's already
Superman
in the books.
Reborn.
They just go, it really got messed up. But I think the best moment here is the interaction with Lex and Superman. And I'm telling you, when Superman comes in and he's like, like he won't even turn to look at him. You know what I like about prison life? The privacy. And Superman is pissed. Kara's hurt. Who knows what's going to happen? And this is him thinking
Connor's crying because Supergirl's hurt. Thing is, I like that Connor and Kara are having a relationship, but for some reason that we have this year, it always kind of feels forced now. Like, even the idea, like, oh, we're going to get you good, cuz. I'm like, look, I know we've had established background, but you guys never felt that close to me.
Here's the thing. This is my favorite moment because Superman is pissed. He has come in, even him arriving, Lex has to realize, oh my God, he's pissed, right? So
you here to break me out like we talked about in Superman?
He goes, listen, you're going to ask me questions. I know that you're listening. You're going to see if I'm lying. And Superman's like, okay, yeah. And he doesn't even say it. He says, if I had your powers, I'd be 10 times the Superman you are. He throws shade at Superman
lying?
And then says, am I lying? Let's test this out because that's what I think. And I'm telling the truth. I thought that was hilarious. Like Lex has got such balls on him in there. But it's also because, Superman won't do anything because he's Superman. And I actually like that play back and forth, the way that this goes on. But Lex does kind of seem like he lets his guard down for a second with the idea, the voice in the armor, but then pulls it back. And it's kind of bullshit where Superman says, what are you talking? Well, I'm not really going to tell you what that means right now. I only assume Lex has no idea. He doesn't like to say he doesn't know. But even then, Superman has his fist clenched.
When Lex was talking to Manchester Black, was given all the information about Warworld during Superman's time there, and then teleported over there to get the technology and stuff like that, just advance LexCorp and all the other things. But he used that technology then to build the new Metallo, which I don't know if it was there previously or if they ever hinted at it, but I think it's a cool idea that this is the catalyst of things going wrong for Metallo. Even the idea where his body now, Metallo itself has been a shapeshifter through different iterations of the character, but it seems now that it's doing it on its own. He doesn't even realize what's going on around him as he's doing different things for what he believes to be his sister talking to him in his head through a hologram or whatnot. But he's doing all these different things. He's asking questions. He doesn't realize what his reality is anymore. His mind is slipping more because from whatever the body is that is holding his mind is slowly feeling like it's taking over and just altering him a bit to be, making him a puppet essentially to do its bidding. And I'm sitting there. When he starts talking about dad and the gun that he brought home and the entity inside him doesn't really understand what it's talking about, that it changes the clothes that now it's wearing their dad's jacket at the time, like it's trying to compensate, but it's not quite there. It's this great moment though. I'm like, what is going on? Because obviously this is World. This is a cool way to do something like along the lines of like a Mega Man X2 where when in Mega Man X, when you killed the Maverick called Sigma, its consciousness kept going and kept doing these different things. Is Mongo's mind stuck in here? And since World technology, is he able to continue on? Or do we get that really cool Lieutenant Orphan and Darlin where they were a good guy for a little while, but now it's time to evolve and do everything because they were very technologically oriented with everything they did previously. Is Orphan itself can't trust Darling. Maybe it's just, or it really did love Darling, but is it building a bigger, better Darling by infecting this character Mattel? I don't know. And I am really worried about the idea though, if Warworld is gone and doing outer space shit away from Earth, what is the physical, is there a physical entity behind it? Or is it just Warworld itself, the consciousness of the Warzone Empire within him? I don't know. But
yeah,
it's cool.
Because we had a lot of that Warzone and Warworld history that you could go, the thing about even Lex, though, he seems to know what this might be and says, I'm not going to tell you, but...
Warworld technology.
And he says, you better go and stop this now. I know that. So that's what he says to Superman. And then, that
has always been a problem, but now you just, Superman is supposedly stronger than he's ever been. We don't ever really see it. We just hear him say it every now and again. But maybe we can see him finally cut loose because Metallo has always been a problem and a handful, and now Metallo is even stronger than he's ever been, it appears, with this new technology that's formed his body.
And he is, and maybe that's the play. Is this where they had him stronger because now he won't be as affected by kryptonite, because the way that Metallo's going to advance, that it would normally have killed Superman, so you have to do these things in the back door way to get it. I don't know. We'll have to see.
I just want to know where he got all the kryptonite to give to his Necro army of freaking Blue Earthers and stuff like that, too, and like, to fuel their Metallo bodies.
He has enough of it, that's for sure. So you end up where I like that play in the mind, or even the hologram, where it's a sister, and then it just changes, that it realizes, okay, the jig is up and gone. I'm going to just say, and then
look,
it twisted even worse, right?
If you don't do what I want you to do, I got to tell you right now, I'm not your sister. No, but your sister is being held in a place that is torturing her, and it's just giving her more and more pain than she's ever felt in her life, to the point where she wants to beg for death. You're going to do what I say, or I'm going to make that somehow fucking worse.
Yeah, and next thing what are they going to have to jump to the Cenobites?
She knows she's
there
because of you. Exactly.
Like it's Hellraiser. I'm like, holy shit. And now
she's in the labyrinth with Leviathan.
And I like this idea because it does change the dynamic, because now this entity, whoever it is talking to him, is pissed and is now like,
kill Superman and his whole family. If you don't, I'll rip your sister apart.
It's not like, please go and kill Superman now, we'll do this.
Her suffering will be even legendary in hell.
So it's going to be, getting him even more fired up. So that's pretty crazy. But then we go back to the house, and I don't know, I wish that you had more of like, well, we got word from Carol. Like, everybody seems pretty nonchalant with this right when they go.
Before we get back to the house, though, we talked about the idea, like, what was up with his sister before? Like, the hologram in his mind said that Superman took her to a Supermax prison, Luthor kidnapped her, all this different stuff. Prison. Do you think anything's actually up with his sister, or do you think she's just living her life all fine and dandy?
I don't know. Maybe they just, it's weird to say all that, but not have her somewhere detained, because she could just be out and about and he might find her. Maybe we'll find out. I mean, it's John Corbin. I mean, it is Metallo, so I don't think people would get that upset if we find out his sister died last week in a car accident, and then they're taking advantage of that, possibly. I don't know.
Funeral for a friend.
You would hope that by the end, and really, here's the thing, Superman is setting up probably what might happen at the end with Metallo. The idea nobody gets to die like this. And the big moment for Metallo would be to just get his sister and have, a nice little moment with her at the end. So I hope he might get that, even though right now he's a piece of crap. But I hope Kara's okay as well, because she zips off. We go back to the house, and we kind of have little house things. And we did get almost what we thought we were going to get, and maybe we thought we wanted to get, with the idea that John is jealous as shit because he never got to be a kid with his parents.
I wanted to play out over a bunch of issues. Here it just kind of feels like an idea where John felt like he was upset because there's new kids in the house that his parents have now adopted. He's never going to get to have this because he was trapped in a volcano for 7 years by his grandfather and Ultraman and all that good stuff. We saw that previously. Now it's like, hey, you're going to babysit the new kids, right, John? Cool. All right, we're going to go off and do some, Kent stuff. You hate us, don't you? No, I don't hate you. I just hate the idea that my family didn't. And we get the exposition of stuff you would figure from the way. Only reason that John would be upset about this. So you get all this. But ultimately, John is a good guy. He's happy the kids are here and he can play with them.
They pull it back right away.
They pull it back immediately. So it's already gone. So like any kind of tension and drama that you could bring from this, it is immediately thrown away. And maybe that's for the best of realize. Maybe that's an angle they didn't want to go down and make John maybe look a little, I don't even want to say sus, just like somebody who has actual emotions.
The problem is that's the problem. When you have that, we didn't have really anything to do with when he came back. He came back, everything's fine, let's go. Now, right now, you're going to have Tom Taylor supposedly go because he's going to confront Ultraman and all that. But what we wanted were the emotions that he would feel coming back. And this probably is the most we've had. It's only a page or two, but we have it. And the big play here is, and I have 5 kids, and they are different ages and stuff like this. And I even saw this with brothers. So I'm saying like one's 27 and another one's 17. Like there's a bit of a, span
10.
there. But yet the idea of all this, he says, you want to play some, Coney ball sometime, Dad. And we saw that before in this book.
Yeah.
And that's what he's really saying is, Dad, I really want to have some alone time with you. You're always there with the kids.
Get the other kids, won't do it sometime.
Yeah, and that's the worst. That is the worst thing but that happens.
Never mind.
I'd have Alex, our oldest kid, say, can we go to the movies? And I'm like, oh, yeah, Logan and Rafe will love that. That's not what he wanted. He just wanted to go with me. And you don't know.
He never said these things.
You know what I mean? Well, if that's a little bit of the mind. But you end up, that's something, though, that you don't realize you're actually doing because what Clark is trying to do is more not to diss John. He's more trying to fold the twins into the family. So he's on the up and up. And then John being upset, you can be upset. And then they come in. It just is resolved way too quickly. I wish that they kind of left that here. And then we had some other thing happen where, we see more of a resolution over a couple issues, like you said. But it's nice that he does throw it in there. At least we know that he's thinking about that. Just have it to be
some kind of character quirk for John, where he is the son of Superman, the all-inspiring person of good, and he still has this bit of jealousy that he can't overcome. And just have it be some kind of a quirk to him. And how do you even work? And eventually, maybe you can work through it, but just have it be something that sits there for a while that actually allows the character to be something other than just this vanilla as he is.
And the thing is, the scene that could have gotten the tears from me, Eric, is when he does go to Lois and Clark and say, you like them more. And they do have to admit, listen, yeah, we're kind of doting on them because we didn't get to do that with you. But it's almost like grandkids.
It's the kids, John.
But you're our son. We love you, And it really, in my mind, too, it's bringing up memories for
and
John.
If you're going to stay here, you got to pay us rent.
Yeah, really. You're too old for this. You're also, considered Superman. So start making them diamonds, right? Isn't that when he puts coal in his ass cheeks and really goes to town, starts twerking, and then to pop out?
I don't know why everything you do has to concern your ass cheeks.
If I was Superman, I'd go on TikTok and twerk out, shitting out diamonds.
Thank God you're not Superman.
And while that's going, I'd eat fruit salad so people would think that. And then I guess I could do that myself, though. I could just go get some diamonds.
You're just putting shit in your butthole.
I'm going to do it. And I'm going to make silly clay.
You're going to make yourself a spectacle.
They have this puzzle box thing. And again, I think that they're opening up the hell dimension. They're going to have this problem with these puzzle boxes. But you end up where they're playing, and he kind of comes to with this. And as they go out, the girl Wonder Twin, and they are Othel and Osel.
Super twin.
Yeah, and the other Othel is gone. And that, at the end...
She's seen some Blue Earther rioting going on in the city, and she decides that this is the problem, right? And that's the problem right there, where you got kids. John wasn't supposed to let Osel or Otho out of his sight because he's babysitting.
They should have turned off that TV, is what they should have done.
They're super-powered beings, and when a super-powered being, this young girl, goes out to take matters into her own hands, wearing a Superman symbol on her chest, look, I'm not saying that the Blue Earthers are good people, but they might have a point when they're being threatened by a godlike alien child.
And it's weird because, you have her as part of the super family, but they're well aware, it seems, that she is a war world refugee. So I would have kept that a little more silent, I guess, but that's how it played out. But yeah, you just have a little kid who gets mad and is going to go off and do some things because she's,
What's
mad.
up with her glowing fists?
I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? She's got those blue eyes and stuff. But yeah, the whole thing ends with John done messed up. I mean, it looks they're on the thing, and now maybe they'll pull it back, but I see a dead hand and they announce on the news, I think somebody's dead. I'm like, what do you do then? What do you do with these super twins if she in fact killed somebody? That is way over the top.
Well, back to World with you.
I mean, and that's a shame if you're going to have to do something like that, but I don't know how you can continue.
This is why we never embiggen the Kandorians, because shit goes bad when you introduce Kryptonian-like beings around.
Those those fly out like in formation, like they're heading south when they do that. I'll freaking blazing those eyes. They're ridiculous.
A flying V?
Yeah, flying V. That's good. I mean, they're the Mighty Ducks there. But it does end like that, and it's a really good issue. It's a really good issue. Now,
it's a great installment.
It's the same page count as a normal issue. But when you start reading the others, for some reason in my mind, it starts feeling like it was less. Like maybe it's just because I want it more, and then I have to read the others, even though Dan Jurgens' thing is okay.
Yeah, our next story with a young John Kent is written by Dan Jurgens, with art by Lee Weeks, Elizabeth Breitweiser, and Rob Lee. And we go into this, if you remember, John had a piece of the Doombreaker spine, the horn that was left behind previously. He should have given that up, but he thought maybe it would be best in the hands of a little kid, hiding it in his tree fort, but whatever. And on top of this, we had an alien princess come down looking for the Superman to come and save her because shit's gone wrong in space. Instead, she finds John, and then one of the people who are coming down to terminate her, they find her and John, take her back on the ship. And meanwhile, we have the Doombreaker show up at the Kent family house looking for his horn, and then Superman has to stop looking for his son to go and save Lois because all of a sudden we got a Doombreaker at the door.
We got a Doombreaker here. And Doombreaker, if you didn't read the Action Comics deal that
I'll
he
get
was
there
in.
eventually. Don't shame me.
I'm just saying that he is a guy who really doesn't. He's like trying to fight it. He's not bad. He's trying to fight it, but
he's trying to fight it, but he's being drawn to a piece of him, and it's going to make him a complete thing. That's going to be a complete bad thing, though. So I'm going to fight it, but I'm drawn here, and I have to make the pain go away and become a monster.
And unfortunately, it was just a cleanup crew that came in and was cleaning up and kind of got infected and ended up doing this.
Doomed.
Just like Doom, the book from the New 52, if you're not aware of that.
By Scott Liddell.
Me and Eric liked it, but not many other people did. But it was fun. But yeah, it's just like that.
I like it. They don't remember it.
Yeah, I reread it last week. Or right after we read the last issue of Action Comics, and it's fun. It's a little.
It only lasts like 4 issues, right?
6, I believe. It ended up they did a full trade, but it's clunky. It is clunky, and I forgot the idea that the Teen Titans show. Like you get a lot of guest stars in that as well.
Didn't show up on the Teen Titans
because
for
that's
a few
how it
issues
went over
least.
when he went over to that. So. And if you want to look it up, it's Doomed. It's in the app, so it's pretty cool.
That Doomsday virus.
But Doombreaker here, he's just kind of the device, and it does make Superman not be able to go and get John right away. Unfortunately, John thinks that what you do in a spaceship is just rip the shit apart, and that will stop it. Well, he ain't, but he is. I mean, if I'm there and me and you are driving, if we're driving, 200 miles an hour in a car and I start ripping shit out like the steering wheel and stuff, the car eventually will stop, probably on a wall, and we're dead because that's what happens.
What do you keep saying we?
Well, you're in there with me.
You're doing this with a Kryptonian body.
Well, you're doing that, but everybody else in here, you might end up having a lot of trouble. We don't know what her power set is, if she's going to be able to withstand that. This fucking ship is going to crash. It looks like everybody else is a robot, but he's also got to fight through those. And actually, you have this weird deal. I don't know what's going to happen, but it is kind of bullshit to me. But
I don't love the art in this section of the book.
I wish it was more colorful. I wish it was actually
that's the
more
thing
fun.
Is the art feels kind of drab. The colors are drab on top of it. So it's such a weird idea, even saying the pencils are drab, but everything doesn't really feel defined ultimately when you have this. And then the colors don't do much to help the art all the way up. No, it doesn't pop at all.
And the problem is, I don't mind that in the Lois and Clark with Doombreaker thing. Maybe that would fit. But when you're in a wacky spaceship with a space princess, this should have some fun look to it. And it is a little flat. It is, especially because a lot of it, you're in this green hue. Then you have like everything, and then it just looks like almost like an ice type look as she has white hair. Pretty cool, though. Pretty cool character, right? Princess coming down to get the Supermans. And you learn a little about her, but again, you said it already.
She's a part of a royal family, but the planet they live on, the resources are going away, and you know who they blame? That royal family. She came looking for help, but they're coming to go get her ass like she's one of the Romanoffs.
So what you're saying, this could be John Starfire, Eric, is what I was thinking of, but I do think that she's kind of cool. Her ass
calls him a prince because he's the son of the Superman, and he's all like, that's dope as hell.
Yeah, he's like, and she's like, we're going to arrange that marriage soon. He's like, that's even doper because you're hot. That's what he said.
I honestly would like this to show up somewhere in the John Kent series later on. The idea that this lost story from his childhood, almost like when we had the X-Men the Hidden Years back in I don't remember if it was the late 90s or early 2000s, but they went backward doing original kind of X-Men stories that were never seen in comics. But we have this going on here later on to the point where he could be betrothed to this alien, almost like the idea where Maxima came down years ago, looking for Superman to be her
kind
husband.
Of a combo. It is.
But this idea where he was a young boy and became betrothed to this princess because he helped their world and royal family out, essentially. And then we moved on, and now all of a sudden he's 17 years old. And, he's got a boyfriend, and then this girl comes down talking about the love of her life, John Kent, and freaking Jay Nakamura's losing his goddamn mind. What is this, John?
Yeah, really.
That's some great drama right there.
Yeah, maybe we'll get it. Me and Stork ended up doing a trade of that missing years, the kind of in between the cracks deal. Yeah, we ended up doing that for the book of the month.
I collected that for a while.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Just because I love the original X-Men yellow and blue costume back then. I love that era of the X-Men so much. So when it came out, I'm like, I need to get this. Look, that beast ain't got no fur on him.
I know, he's
crazy.
Oh my, he's using his feet. He always uses his feet.
Angel, he ain't got no metal wings.
Me and Sturk did that on the Patreon book of the month a couple months back. But yeah, when you go through this, the deal though, where I can say what you said earlier, it's nice, it's fine, and I'm actually intrigued by this space princess and that sort of thing.
It's very fast moving and doesn't do much issue to issue.
My problem is by the end, does this really matter? It already
And
seems
that's
like
my biggest problem.
you have the big Dawn of DC story, which is the Philip Kennedy Johnson, and that's hitting hard.
Yeah, it's hitting hard.
And then
yeah.
you get to this, and you're like, okay, is this icing on the cake, or is this like more ice? I don't know. I love ice.
Here's a cookie you have in your pocket, little crummy in there, got some lint on it.
Like you
good.
already have the
Sweet.
icing on the cake, then you come here and it is like lint from your pot. Oh, I didn't really need that,
Got a
but I'll
cookie in your
still
pocket.
eat it, right? And then you get to the Power Girl, and suddenly they just shit on the cake. I don't know why somebody would shit on the cake, but it's my kind of party then.
There's
Is
always
what
an
I'm
asshole.
saying. Well, you would need one, right? Hey. But yeah, we go to that next story. Here we go, Eric.
Our Power Girl story written by Leah Williams with art by Marguerite Savage and Becca Carey. And this has been a problem this whole time because what we have here is a Lilith Clay story, the character Omen, like the idea that, she's a telepath. We're using her power set, but for some reason we can't use Lilith Clay in our story. We have to have Power Girl with Lilith Clay.
Nobody would
assisting
care.
this entire time.
It's Omen, so they try.
Does anybody care right now?
Yeah,
because
they
you have
care.
Power Girl.
They care because they're pissed.
They change her power set to make her a telepath where people come to her office and she helps them out. And all of a sudden, she doesn't know what her name is. The name Karen Starr means nothing to her. We don't have anything that this character's ever been except for the basic rudimentary parts of like, man, I am just a double from Earth 2. I'm like, God damn it. This is like what we had in Dark Crisis Young Justice, where all of these are things that had been taken care of. All the character development was scrapped so that people could retell the story in a worse way. And we're doing it again here with a character I barely recognize.
Is it any sort of surprise? You have two people writing that just show up and they give them books and don't know what the fuck they're doing. You ended up having Leah Williams when she said that she was going to be doing this Power Girl story. She said, I really went deep. I was reading everything Power Girl, and then I got to this crossroads where, okay, I could go here or there, and I didn't know which way DC wanted to go.
Said, fuck it.
So I went to DC and asked, what should I do? And they're like, no, don't worry about that. Tell your own story. That doesn't mean you have to scrap everything that you did, because there's no way she knew anything here. She is going so off the reservation with this nonsense, with this idea on the cover that it says, Power Girl Reborn. Please, this can't be what goes forward. It almost feels like Leah Williams is saying, the character sucked before. I'm going to make it so much better and just not know what the hell she is doing. I'm going to
sit on a couch and fly through people's minds.
She's using the idea that Kara Zor-El from Earth 2, Power Girl, is not accepted just because she was on Earth 2. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Which we're so far removed from.
It is so far removed. She is accepted. They love it. It's not that. And when John is like, well, what's your Kryptonian name? He should fucking know as well. It's Kara. It's Kara Zor-El. That's what it is. She goes, I don't remember. Bullshit.
Well,
you don't
even
remember.
then, she's upset that the Superman family doesn't do anything with her. I'm like, oh, we invite you. You just don't look. Well, I don't want to be a part of that anyway. I'm like,
asshole.
What are we even saying here? Because we're just making like Karen look like a piece of shit ultimately, and like dealing with problems that haven't been there. And for some reason, even the concept where we're continuing on with the continuity of this story of where her and Lilith have this. I want to say psychic detective agency, but it's pretty much just, hey,
I wish it was
Cleo.
ghost detectives. I wish.
Something along these lines where people come in with problems, we open their mind, Quaid, and we get to the bottom of things psychically. That's it. But in the previous issue, we saw that Supergirl had a problem. She couldn't speak. Something had attacked her psychically after the Lazarus rain, so we went in her mind, had a freaking romp through her fucking mind, and then realized, holy shit, somebody's trying to attack Power Girl, but they can't do it psychically to her now because she's got the psychic powers. So they're attacking people in the Superman family to get to her. So we fix Supergirl, but we don't know who the person is yet. We better bring in Superboy and wait for him to have a problem the same way that Supergirl did. And when we figure that out, when that happens, we can get to who this actually is now. And that's what happens this issue. We bring Superboy in, who has no problem at all until the guy can't talk like Supergirl anymore, but he can't talk in the mind for some. It's such a weird idea how he can talk. It seems like he can talk fine in the real world, but he can't talk right in his own mind at a certain point in the story.
Yeah, they start going to John, and there's like, well, we have you here because they're trying to figure this out. And remember, Beast Boy, he wasn't talking, and then they had to go in and make him better. Like,
unrelated. None
of this makes fucking sense. But then all of a sudden, like, it was looking like they were going to have this agent, like you said, an agency you come. But now it's, no, somebody's trying to attack me. Last issue we did see, it's JS. Seriously, if you look up J, there's no other character. Everybody knows who it was. By the end, it's Johnny Sorrow. There's no other JS.
I didn't put much thought into it because I didn't care.
You already have I don't understand what Leah Williams is trying to do to change Power Girl in a way that she didn't need change, and it makes no damn sense, and it's not even fun or good or anything. And then they go in this out of nowhere. Well, John, since you are the expert and multilingual, what? I messaged you. I'm like, is John supposed to be an expert? Because I know that kid didn't go to a liquor school. He was in a volcano. I said, does he speak
Volcano's universal language?
Volcano and fucking lava. That's what I could speak to the lava. I'm like, no, John, you were just trapped in a volcano and that was your only friend, lava. And so he comes back here and they're like, they keep saying it. Well, and he's like, well, you don't understand because being multilingual. Do they just think that he knows 2 languages? They're making it seem like he's like this savant that knows every language in the universe. We've never seen that. And it doesn't make sense. Then he can't talk in the dream. Then you have sipping the teas. It's so bad.
And that's all Lilith Clay does here. She sips some tea.
Yeah, she sips tea while and it just keeps coming back to John being a nice guy going, well, we kind of went you around. No, you don't. You don't like. But really what you're having here.
What are you going to do? Call me Cara Beta version. How about that? Well, Lilith, what do you call her? Well, I call her PG or Peach. Oh, Peach, that's pretty cool. I'm going to call her Peach too, but you know what? You don't like your name Karen Starr for whatever reason that's non-existent in this book. But you know what? Peach kind of sounds like Paige. So I'm going to call you Paige. You know what? Paige is kind of cute. Fuck. The hell is even that?
It sounds like a books page, starting fresh with a brand new slate on your story's first blank page 1. What dialogue is this? That is the hokiest fucking dialogue I have read. And so you have all this going down. And again, the thing that you want to center on and should center on, if anything, is that, hey, I kind of feel like I'm, not really worth much because Supergirl's so big and whatever, and I want to have my own identity. That's fine. But to switch it to I hate you guys and your stupid family because you hate me doesn't make much sense. And so after all this nonsense, you just have Paige.
Paige, because it's kind of cute.
Do I have to call her Paige?
I'm just hoping that this all becomes this weird thing of the mind ultimately. It doesn't make any sense. It is ultimately retconned at the end of the story because none of this works for Karen Starr.
It's not going to be retconned at the end of the story.
Or Dawn of DC.
There's no way. They're just going to forget about it.
The only way to make this story work for me ultimately is to make Lilith Clay the big bad and because none of it works without this. And
but Johnny Sorrow showing up, that's a big bad.
Johnny Sorrow is attacking Karen Starr for no reason out of nowhere. And he's attacking the Superman family for reasons because he can't attack her psychically because of her psychic powers now. And she's just pulling on some mind code inside of John's head until she pulls out the Johnny Sorrow's mask. Like, oh my God, it's Johnny Sorrow. He's coming after me. And there's your big cliffhanger. Johnny Sorrow's there, large and in charge, but who fucking cares at this point?
Nobody. And again, what you have here is she knows that Kara Zor-El Power Girl is kind of a redundant deal because of Earth 2 and the Supergirl of this Earth. She figured that out.
But the thing is, are you even this...
what I was saying then, though, is just that the other thing that she knows then is that there was a computer involved when she was going, so she does code. She only goes surface level. She doesn't know what these things mean. She has no idea. But now that we have
the Infinite Earths back, and after the original crisis when everything was wrapped up from Earth 2 into this, where we have the JSA who have always been on this world and not Earth 2 anymore, is this that Karen Starr? Or is this the Karen Starr from the newly minted Earth 2 from the new 52? Is it still that Karen Starr? Because
you're never
going to
find out.
Had a company and industry and all this stuff. It was like, dating Michael Holt, Mr. Terrific for a little while, in the World's Finest book, and even the Power Girls, like the Mr. Terrific book. I don't know what we're playing with anymore because
I don't think
nobody wants to talk about, Power Girls' origins because we're just going to say, well, time to do some telepathic stuff for no reason.
She can tell us about, well, what about when the other Power Girl comes in and then all hell breaks loose, Eric? Are they going to call her Paige too?
Tanya Spears?
Yeah, Tanya. But you end up where then Paige, I can imagine I go to a con, right? And I see somebody who's cosplaying as Power Girl. And I go up, hey, you're a real big Power Girl fan. Oh, my favorite character of all time. Love. Okay, Paige. And they'll punch me right in the face. They won't take that. They'll punch you right. And like, okay, I did this with the code. Now I'm going to put away the of the mind things, ropes or wires. Oh no, Johnny Sorrow's mask. What the fuck is going on? This story is awful. It is awful. And it's just done in a way that you can't even sit there. Like you said at one point, you think, well, they wanted to have Omen, but they couldn't because, she's not that popular. So they have to. I can't get any sort of thing to fit in a puzzle that I think of how this came about, what they thought of first, what they were trying to do, and how they're failing at it. But I know it's a failure. It's terrible. Nobody seems like...
All the action takes place in the mindscape, which all pretty much looks the same ultimately. And it's not even as fantastic as you'd want it to be, or creepy, or cryptic, or anything. I'm telling you, here's John's. There's some fields, and there's a big dinosaur and baseball in the background. The mind.
I like that. I like that you have... It looks like the Kent farm and a baseball. That's all she has for that. Oh, my God. Not even the Coney ball. Eric, whatever the fuck that is. But what would you give this overall? And it's a shame that we have to rate it overall. Yeah, but what are you going to give it?
I don't mind the art, even though the John Kent section was a little drab for me. And even the Power Girl stuff's not something I like overall, but it's not terrible to me overall. I think the original, the first story that we have here is the strongest in both art and story overall. It's the only thing I end up really caring about. The John Kent stuff, it's a cookie in my pocket. It's a little lengthy, but it's still fun to eat at the end of the day. I don't mind it. The Power Girl stuff is always going to be terrible. I can't wait to get that out of this book.
It's done. This is it. This is the last issue.
That's so
I told you. It's continuing in that special.
But what are you going to... never mind.
It's not continuing with me, Eric.
It's out of this book. It's all that matters. But right now, I really enjoy the first Superman family stuff. The John Kent stuff, it's okay, but it's kind of losing me a little bit too because it's not doing enough for the page space that it has. So I have to give this a 6.8 out of 10 for everything combined.
I'm an 8, and the reason why I'm an 8 is you can legitimately forget about that Power Girl story. You don't even have to read it. And why? This is a $4.99 book. And with the idea of having that, I think that the Action Comics story itself is probably worth that because it's Dawn of DC. Then you get that Dan Jurgens deal. That's nice enough. That's enough for me. That would be the deal. And then the shit bonus, that Power Girl, get out of here. But I hope that the next couple stories are better. Because
it's so bad, though.
I think that Bill Kenny Johnson story is so good. And why I give it, it's almost like an 8 to entice people on over. Because I do think this book is something you should read. If you're into the Dawn of DC and you want to get things going forward, you should be reading this book. Just don't read that Power Girl shit at the end.
Well, what's up next for Action Comics then? Without the Power Girl. What's up for Action Comics next then without the Power Girl?
I don't know. I remember I saw something and I wish I remembered. It's something that I thought you might be interested in, but I wouldn't.
Oh, that's going to be awful.
And it is a writer that I'm not really familiar, if I'm not mistaken. But again, since it's $4.99, you can play around with that third story and maybe give some people a chance. Like you like in anthologies where sometimes you'll get somebody that we don't know and they get
an up-and-comer.
You didn't know Leah Williams. I did. I knew what we were going to get. And this is about what you get normally. She just writes shit that all the characters sound weird and she doesn't quite get them. So there you go. Luckily, though, it didn't get full out sexy because they're related in this issue. Because usually she gets a little sexy as well and a lot of cursing. A lot of cursing.
Are they related?
Well...
Oh, no step, bro.
People would be... well, again, also, he has a boyfriend, so you're not going to do that anyway, so it would be cheating. But usually, I'm thinking that the editorial were so busy trying to reel her in from sexiness that everything else slipped by. It slipped by in the cover of the Night, Eric, while they were trying to reel her in, because she gets real over the top with shit. But there you go. You had like one boob joke, so I'll have to give her that. That was at the first issue, I think, where we had one boob joke and went from that. So I give her credit. Usually she's way over the top with that, but it's a good book with a really, really bad ending story. So I'll go with that. But we'll move on to the next book. And it's one of those things there. You know, I love to be right. System. You know, I love to be right. That's something I will gloat. And I ended up warning people. Listen, Ram V, I can already sense it. We already saw it in Swamp Thing. This book is going to go at a glacial pace. We're never going to get to anything. You're going to have issues where they're just talking like nonsense all in. And we've had it over and over and over. Finally, a bunch of the usual sus reviewers, they can't even deny it anymore. I saw it on Comic Roundup that some of these are like, they'll still try to spin it in a way that they're like, man, nothing is going on for so many issues, but I'm really still interested because, man, it's wacky. Yeah, you get that. It's 10 issues in, and they're like, man, it really feels like it's about to start. 10 out of 10. Like, really? And it does seem like it is something that is affecting the sales. So that, and also, Ramby himself, because now he's sending out these weird tweets of, I got this letter the other day, and it said this, and it's some guy, this is the best book ever, your Detective Comics, straight up continuity, solid, and I did this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, I think and also he's out explaining to himself, or everybody, listen, this Detective Comics, I like to do things like he seems like he's fighting with himself because it isn't doing as well, but it is Detective Comics number 1070, written by Ramby, art by Stefano Raffaele, Adriano Lucas, and Ariana Mayer. We get a little bit of the Vigil, Eric. And the funny play is I heard earlier before I read it, because we read the books when we're going to go record, somebody said to me, oh man, this book is only a setup for the Vigil. This is all it is. And I was like, what? That's crazy. You know what? When I read it and messaged them and said, I thought you said, he's like, no, I meant that was the only interesting part. I'm like, I don't even agree with you there. This book is, again, I said it before too. I don't know. Did Barbara go to like 7 colleges and get 8 degrees? Because
I'm sure she did. She was going to be a librarian at one point.
The idea that she says to Bruce, this is just one of them. I just happen to open on this page. She says, you believe that, Bruce? Cities built on the bones of their own buried memories?
I do.
What the fuck are you saying? Like, I'd sit there and like,
classic
dumb it down
Barbara.
for me there. Like, yeah. And like, and everything is a metaphor. Everything's like, this city is like this, and we get that with Batman. But that's kind of the funny play when he's just on that gargoyle for about a panel. The city's like a bad Sunday.
You have all this stuff going on. I think the most interesting part of this book is when the Orgum's army are trying to take down Solomon Grundy in the sewers and put the asthma in him, and they can't. He's able to fight the asthma off, and ultimately just goes, he punches his abdomen, which is amazing, and it ultimately just goes off with Cheshire Cat, Leanne Harper, into the sewer. I'm like, hey, I can dig these two together. I don't know how it's working with the rest of this story or has anything to do with anything. Best part of the book.
Punching the asthma out is a little ridiculous, especially in a highbrow book like this, but I just go with the idea that he's a goddamn zombie. The asthma can't go. He's not alive, but it works out.
He's mostly planned.
Yeah, they're trying to get him, and I like the idea. Like, I'm with you. I actually thought, holy shit, I'm going to like this issue. Like, because even that, when they think that they're going to be able to bring an asthmaed up Solomon Grundy back to Gale Tenclaw.
The boss is going to love this.
They think they're getting a raise. They're all excited. And yeah, he punches it out himself. And when you have Leah see this and you go on, I like that they're walking, Leanne, when they're walking, and it's like, it's almost like a Frankenstein moment, the deal with it, and he's just going down his crazy deal as she's like, stop, I can help you. So that's nice.
Well, we also still have Cassandra Cain Batgirl down here, like looking into the organs and the people that are being taken underground. So hopefully by the end of this, I say by the end of this, I don't even know where it could be going, let alone the end of this, but at some point in the story, we have a team of Leanne Harper, Cheshire Cat, Solomon Grundy, Cassandra Cain Batgirl, all working together in the underground of Gotham to free these people, because that sounds like an amazing team to me.
And maybe, just maybe, Eric, Batman will do something. He'll do something besides waxing poetic. I don't even care at that point. Well, you have to have somebody do something in the book, because Batman is busy talking about how he was raised by gravestones and waxing poetic. I think Alfred might have something to say about that. And then we have a flashback.
No, he's dead.
He was raised already. I mean, what is he, this day? Actually, he still is a little kid. He's like, nobody's making my oatmeal.
Alfred ain't saying shit is all I'm saying.
The idea I love, they have a flashback and Alfred comes in and it's like, hey, do you want your breakfast? He's like, okay, gravestones. That was his nickname, Eric. But again, you're going through pages. What you go through pages of is just what we know. We actually get the origin again. We see the little kid in the alley, but now it's told in fancier verbiage.
Is there as well.
Just this idea that he's sitting there thinking of all this bullshit while all this is going on, because what has happened
here. Did he have to be Batman, or is it because of the reality engine and he has to keep doing this because Gotham is broken ultimately?
Who cares? He's Batman. So let's get on with it. And then they go and give you a background, and people seem to like the idea that you get a little Orgum background. And then we repeat it, but we get more of it the second time. I'm like, why are we doing this?
We have it through the Prince talking about how his father, all the Orgums have to go on this mission at one point when they become an adult or get married and stuff like this. where they have to go off and save something, someone, have a mission essentially, and Gotham's going to be his mission. His father, he died. Maybe he will, but his father died on his mission and stuff like that. It turns out this at least brings the idea of the League of Assassins, what the hell they're doing here, any kind of connection, because one of the people that was with the prince's father on his mission was Ra's al Ghul.
Seemed to kill him, what Talia says.
Exactly.
Killer, so that's crazy.
We have a connection then. We have, a blood feud set with all I can think at this point in time. But it at least gives us a connection between the Organs and the Al Ghuls and the League of Assassins and why Talia's here at this book at all.
And you do have that. You do get a connection. That is a loose end that does get... Is that the loose end we needed tied up? Because the League of Assassins came swooping in, started fighting, got beat up and left. And we were just like, what were they... So you get that tied up, but you really didn't need... There's so many things that are left on the table here that just having this thing of, oh, my dad, Ra's al Ghul, he's part of this party with his dad. Like,
I hate the way Ra's al Ghul looks in this because he does. I don't even know what he looks like when I don't know how to describe him because he is all done up in we're going to traverse the desert kind of outfit. And this is a long time ago still because obviously, it was one of the, I would say at least, 20 years ago when this would have happened. But I have to think about how the Organs are because they do kind of seem immortal as well. So I have because Gail Tenclaw has been around for a dog's age. I know that. So it does seem like it's almost Arabian Nights at times for how long ago this is. But I have no idea how to tell because I don't know what's going on in this story. But and all this is stemming off the other. Man, I don't like the way that Ra's al Ghul looks, and I don't know how to describe it.
Even when you do this, you end up getting the story from the prince, and he's there. He has to go around the world and find something to save. It seems like he's picked Gotham. That's fine. Okay, we get a little connection there. We see what he's up to. It's very vague right now and what they're really up to, whatever. But like I said, then we get the story again. But even when you get that, that's only to tie in Italian League of Assassins to all of this. We're not really getting that much substance in the story itself. We're getting background that kind of makes it a little more
dribs and drabs.
Flowery. I mean, the idea that, hey, I have to go around and save something. Like my dad, who was going through you don't really need that for this story, but it's cool enough to have it. But it's cool enough to have it if a story is moving. This story is not moving forward. We have so many issues, and that's kind of what we get caught up in this issue.
Well, and the idea of this, we have the Vigil show up, the team that everybody loved from Lazarus.
Yeah, that nobody knew, and you don't even get that much here. I thought maybe that would be fleshed out a bit.
We have a character, Arclight, who's talking to Barbara Gordon about her searching out these pseudo ley lines, these passive energy that are underneath Gotham, and how Mr. Freeze is looking into it. The rest of Vigil are currently looking into it. The Organs are looking into it because apparently these are the passive energy that take out from the reality engine that was put there during the founding of Gotham all those hundreds of years ago. And I'm sitting there. Agreed. And I'm sitting here like, this is the way you want to reintroduce Vigil, is have this character Arclight talk about these fucking lines in a reality engine that nobody has a basis for, because we're going to make this reality engine back in the 1600s. We're going to set Gotham's path in motion. Oh shit, this guy dressed up like a bat. We fucked up the reality engine, and now we're just destined to have a guy dressed up as a bat. There's a Two-Face, there's a Scarecrow. Oh no, a Barbatos. What the hell are we going to do?
I'm just shaking my head as we go. And I do see still some people like, oh man, this is great. And the thing is, though, don't get fooled by this fanciness, because the story itself is just nothing yet. We haven't really even established a lot of the things going forward. And didn't I say that Arclight looked like a Tron? He looks like a Tron to me.
Yes.
Oh, he makes me laugh. But I do like the computer guy who looks like
Tron.
I like the computer guy.
Tron's a character, right?
I like the guy who's at the computer who looks like he has a chocolate bar melting in his pocket.
Castle?
Yeah, I like Castle. What is he doing with that? Doesn't it look like a chocolate bar? Do you think it's a chocolate bar? Or is it something else?
I think it might be a chocolate bar, something along those lines. It just happens that Castle is Vigil's oracle, essentially, and he is just as good as Barbara Gordon, if not better, from at least a little small panel we have with the character.
He's a nerd. Eric is what he is. Look at that. Look at that chocolate bar in his pocket. I don't understand it. But even then, I wondered, when they told me that this was a setup for the Vigil, I was like, oh man, really? But then at the end, I'm like, I wish it was. Because at least I'd know something.
Find out who else the Vigil is keeping tabs on in the Vigil #1. This made
me like that book even less. I didn't get excited about it at all. And just having Arclight wax poetic about this stuff, I'm like, okay, so you're going to be writing another boring as shit book over there. Fuck that. I'm out there. We'll talk about it when it comes out, but I'm more of a city boy guy.
Do you see Oracle? If cities are living constructs, it is useful to think of these lines as neural pathways. Gotham. Thinking, ruminating as if many ideas push and pull along these lines of power.
Tell me, I don't. This is so bad.
Imagine then if there was a device that could both draw and exert influence through them. We believe this is your missing piece. The ancient Greeks called it the thelema, meaning will. The Egyptians were the first to apply the concept to architecture between Horus and Crowley. Somewhere along the way, the thalamus engine was made, a reality drive converting will to power.
The Wolfman.
Here's the thing. If everybody out there, if you have an imagination, right, you just sit there, just close your eyes.
Okay. I want you to read this comic and I want you to think of an actor using the person's voice as you read, since you have such a great imagination.
No, not that. And it's kind of like that, though, because I can't do that. We've established that. But it's a visual thing. And it's more of that. Close your eyes and think of this comic as a whole. Eric just read that nonsense deal, all that. And think of this comic as a person that you have to deal with every fucking day. You would strangle this person within 2 hours. This shit would drive you insane.
This book just hit the wrong sound effect and talked over me. I hate this goddamn book.
Oh my God. And that will be edited out, Eric. So all that though, I meant to hit Wolfman, which I eventually did, but nobody will know what we're talking about. Again, think of this dialogue. Think of this, like you would go, and this is a person that you have to rely on. Say they work with you and you have to go. They're like, oh, go ask Johnny where to get that. And you have to go up to this guy and ask him a simple question, and it's going to take an hour, and you will not know what the fuck he's talking about, but he'll pretend he's smarter than you. I would kill him. I'm telling you, that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of just an annoying person just throwing shit at me, but at the end, you realize they didn't say shit. Like, you spent all this time, and you really had a very basic plot here, and it just gets stretched out because everybody has to start talking about what this is like.
Who the Egyptians and the Crowley.
Yeah, what is that going to be something you're going to remember and take later? Or what you're going to remember is...
Just think of these lines in a thinking city. It's a neural pathway.
Yeah, I'll hit what I meant before it.
The Wolfman.
What you'll remember, I think, what me and you will remember by the end is what I think is Solomon Grundy punched the asthma out of his body. That's what we'll remember. That's what I'll like. I'm not going to remember, Aleister Crowley's name drop. I'm not going to remember that. Even when Batman goes to Talia, he goes to her to say, "Hey, what's up? I know you're here. What the fuck is your connection?" That's all. One panel. Hey, Talia, what the fuck is your connection here? Why the fuck are you here? Oh, I'm here because of my dad, Ra's al Ghul. You might have heard of him. You may even know him. He ended up doing this wacky shit with that family. That's why we're here.
Killed the king of the Organs.
And then, look at my crazy ass picture behind me. It's driving me nuts the whole time I was reading this. I'm like, what the fuck is that? That and that melting candy bar. It drove me insane, Eric. But
see, I had other things like the story to worry about.
Yeah, but I'm still worried about it. I'm worried when we're going to get it, Eric, is what I'm worried about. I'm worried that we're not going to get it for another 10 issues. But what would you give this?
Ultimately, I give this a 6 out of 10. I like some of the connections they made here to make the rest of the story feel worthwhile to play, but it is still so overwhelmingly complex and deep to the point where I say those words, overwhelmingly complex and deep, and that makes me feel like an asshole because I don't think it's all that deep. I just think it's being very vague on purpose so it doesn't have to tell a story. But all of these questions are still out there, and I don't know if I want the answers or if we're ever going to get the answers. I don't know how the book's going to come together. Right now, I'm just kind of, I guess I'm going to read Detective Comics, but I don't hate it as much as I could. And the art's not terrible at times. This is me being positive with a 6 out of 10.
Fuck the chicken strips!
I'm fucking the chicken strips. I'm a fuck you 5. And the reason...
Solomon Grundy, Cheshire Cat makes it a 6 for me.
It doesn't for me. The problem, we tied the Organs and the League of Assassins. That's tying up.
Hooray.
That's tying up like 3 panels from the first issue. That's all it really is. And it took this long to actually tie up something that meant nothing. If we never saw the League of Assassins again, it would not affect us. And now it may affect it going forward, and that's the way to get Talia back in the book, but who knows? Who the fuck
Jim,
knows?
The Vigil! See him in May!
See you in May. Seriously. I hope that...
See you next Tuesday.
See you next year. I'm telling you, what did I get? Fuck you 5. Oh my goodness gracious. So here we go. We're going to finish up this section with the next book, which is the big event, Eric. I mean, you've been waiting.
Look, you're talking shit, but the thing is, I've been waiting for a Wonder Woman Shazam story for a long time.
I saw some people, I watched a video that the guy ended up at the end saying, you know what I don't like about this? I don't think that Wonder Woman and Shazam should ever cross paths. What are you talking about?
It makes sense.
It's perfect. It's perfect for it. So I started laughing, though. I also laughed before because he gave this a perfect score. But this is Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods #2. That's the game they play over on that video world. Do you like your video games? Written by G. Willow Wilson, art by Cian Torme, Emanuela Lupacino, Jordi Bellar, and Pat Rousseau. Yeah, we're going to continue this event. And you do get some moments that I do like enough in this, but the story, again, this is where I was being driven nuts this week. I don't think that any of these stories really are concerned with going forward with a story and giving us much, but we wanted Shazam. You do have him here, and you end up getting with Mary as well as you kind of hook him up till you get with Yara Floor, and I don't know.
Watch out, Zhao. Billy's here.
I want this to feel bigger than it now feels. It does feel kind of like, it feels like it's meandering a bit, and it shouldn't because there's not that many issues, but I don't hate it. I'm not sitting here reading this and saying this. Well, again, I had just before this read that Power Girl into Detective Comics, so I was looking for anything to like at this point, but I didn't hate it, but it just doesn't feel like enough. It doesn't
I
feel
understand,
like anything,
because you have a Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods. It should have this gigantic scope that it almost promised too big of a scope in its first issue, with the idea where we knew that the Mount Olympus gods were going to be doing some shit because we saw them in the lead up to Wonder Woman. Then we jump into Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods #1. All of these other gods from the Sea of the Gods are doing stuff. They're coming back to Earth and demanding retribution, people to worship them. It became all this big thing. We're just been waiting for Billy to show up and do something. Wonder Woman was hanging around in her own story until she was freed by the Stranger. But ultimately, we know the Wizard Shazam and Hera have teamed up. They've killed Zeus, and they've taken over Olympus, and they're bringing it back to the mortals because it's the revenge of the gods. Billy's finally showed up, and he's like, hey, you got to go to Mount Olympus. Okay, I'm going to go to Mount Olympus, but nothing about this feels like it's epic in scope beyond the idea of, all right, we're going to have Wonder Woman, Wonder Girl, and Shazam in a same book together, taking it to the Mount Olympus gods. None of the other gods, as far as I know, going forward, because it was just a name drop in a few panels previously, but nothing ever since. But where's the rest of the DCU in the situation where all of the world is being threatened by the old gods right now, and it's up to a 12-year or a 15-year-old boy and a princess of Themyscira? Like, all of a sudden, it just doesn't feel as big as it should, because even on Themyscira, we're fighting zombies. Well, cool, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, all right, zombies. And in this, I actually, while you were talking, I was just going to see if this would work, because I paged through this really quick without, obviously not reading it, like real quick. And then by the end, I actually think that I got enough out of that to go forward, because all you really have to know is Yara Flora is now a bigger part of it. You have Shazam, Mary, and at the end, the Wizard comes out. And really, the thing that we've been wanting with Billy and all this is the Wizard, and you kind of get a cliffhanger that we kind of knew already. You right? You know what I mean? Like, at the end, you're like, I think I've seen this cliffhanger like 6 times before. Now, I will read you, which we don't normally do this. I'm going to read you the solicit a bit for this, because I want to ask you if this seems better and why aren't they doing it? It says, the gods have leveled up, and Shazam is no match for them. After Wonder Woman's changing of sides to save her Amazon sisters, they don't want to spoil things. Billy must use his quickly fading wisdom of Solomon.
Okay.
Where is that? I want like the idea that we said that the gods are going away, they're getting killed, that the powers are going to fade, and the Wizard's doing something, but we don't really see that.
Well, that's the thing, is the power of Zeus. I don't know how that works. I can see that fading because Zeus is gone, and like even the idea that no one's ever going to bring up when he was infected by the Batman Who Laughs, and he was killing all the like a lot of the champions that he got his powers from. Solomon isn't a god like that. It's a champion that he gets the wisdom from. I don't know how that works, but and there's a moment in this though when he does become Captain Marvel Shazam to go fight a giant, and he seems to hurt his fist on the giant's face. They never talk about this ever again in the issue. I'm like, is this the fading power part? Because we moved on. I'm like, okay, is it just that the giant was really tough, or is it something with Billy that they're not actually talking about in the comic? It was very odd.
And as I'm going through this and he's going to use some of these powers and do some things, I was looking for some sort of, little bit that goes on the fritz. And that was there, but never really said anything about it. Doesn't even really say much himself.
And it's even odd that Billy himself is using the wisdom of Solomon when he's not Captain Marvel.
Yeah, exactly. And so at the end, I think that the one thing that I thought was these characters didn't feel as unique as I wanted them, the way G. Willow Wilson is writing them. I think that she's more concerned with maybe Yara. She seems more Yara, but Billy he just seemed a little off. But as they're going forward, I wanted to see more.
Imagine this. We have to do, like, Billy's in Fishtown right now in Philadelphia, right? We got all this shit going on. He got attacked by Apollo. Everybody else is having weird prophecies. It didn't really seem to affect Billy. Maybe it's because the powers him are fritzing, and that was how it's affected him. We don't really know at this point in time. But he has a vision of Apollo telling him, look, you need to go to Mount Olympus. You can get there through Washington, D.C. You need to get your ass to D.C., essentially. The motherfucker takes a bus to D.C. Yell Shazam and fly there. Why did you take a bus to D.C.?
Well, you took a bus because he had to be on a bus.
You had to sit next to the stranger?
The stranger. We had to see him. And then we get a little hint of like, oh, don't look in my bag. He's like, what's in the bag, bitch?
Golden God Hand.
And then I looked. Yeah, it's the Golden God Hand. And I thought, oh, my God, it's going to be something like, it's going to tell us who. Oh, it's just that Golden God Hand. Like, we know he has that. I really thought it was going to be like a crown or something like we could start to figure out this mystery, but no. And then, didn't you think like the idea was that the stranger was the person he was supposed to find, but then he gets out and finds Yara?
No,
like, I don't know.
They fight a monster, and then they're like, okay, we're going to take it to the gods. I don't think you can take it to the gods. You don't seem like all that cool. Well, I'm going to take it to the gods. Well, cool, I'm going to help you take it to the gods. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, at one point, she's like, that sounds like something you should get Hippolyta. I'm like, Hippolyta? I don't get what you're saying, Yara. And then almost calls her Wonder Girl, and she stops it.
We don't say that. I'm Yara
I don't know. It was weird, but you know, they're a neat little team up. I like team ups that you really didn't expect to see.
No, I agree. Like, even the idea of having Mary Marvel in this series, I didn't expect to see that. I was happy to see her.
And I wish she was in it more. I wish she was still with them at the moment.
I'm saying, it doesn't seem to be doing much. I'm just happy that she's a part of this. This felt like it was going to be a Billy Batson Wonder Woman story, and now we have Shazam teaming up with Yara Flora, which is cool because you didn't expect to see that.
Is this a weird thing? Because I'll see if you agree. This is the Revenge of the Gods #2, but doesn't it play out like this would have been like a side book that was like a tie-in to it? Because the big play here, it's just Billy taking a bus, getting with Yara and going, not much happens. Like, this feels like it's not as big as and important to take up a actual Revenge of the Gods #2. I expect the regular deal to be like really hard-hitting, even when they get to Olympus, and Hera's like, what are you doing? I came here to take you down for humankind. She just laughs at his ass. And then we get the wizard, which we knew about already. It's kind of cool to see it, but nothing really progresses in this. I like when he's like hanging like a cuckold back in the shadows there. He's like, I'm waiting for his turn. But by the end, I just thought it was not much going on. There's not really that much to even talk about. But
even the
I didn't
idea
hate
of
it.
this, because we have to, like, through the prophecy, which I always believe, like prophecy, I say it's just this, spiritual figure that comes to Billy Bats and says, get your ass to DC. You have to meet somebody there. I believe it's Hippolyta. I think they, like, even Yara Flora says the idea, well, that sounds like Hippolyta. So the idea is we got to get there. We got to meet Yara Flora, maybe the stranger. Who knows how this prophecy is going to work out. But we need to get our ass to Mount Olympus. Well, how are we going to get our ass to Mount Olympus in Washington, D.C.? Is there a portal there? I'm not sure, because even when we had Yara Flora doing the whole, the Amazons and the Bad Amygdala tribe and the Escazita tribe all taking it to Mount Olympus, they all just kind of seem to get there. We never really found out how. The book never really told us. But Billy and Yara Flora, they all get to Olympus. They try to take on Hera. They have the big reveal. Oh, my God, the Wizard Shazam's here. He's talking mad shit, how I'm not worthy. My sister Mary should have been Shazam. Like, look, I hear that all the time, asshole. You don't got to throw it in my face like that. And the big thing about this is that the Wizard Shazam, whether he should be alive or dead, that's still up in the air. Who knows how that's supposed to work out. But his ass is all like, you little bastards, because of what you did with the Rock of Eternity, you cut me off from my power. I have no longer had the power of Shazam. Until here, he just says, I'm taking back the power of Shazam from you. So he seems to have the power of Shazam. He can take it and give it like any. So I don't understand what his problem is. He just takes it back from Billy, and now all of a sudden he's Captain Marvel. And I'm like, this is the power of Shazam. You are the Wizard Shazam. What are you doing? I
don't like the look of that green, Eric. It really looks like
Lazarus.
I got the rain on me, and now I don't know. It's like all of a sudden green. It makes me shudder.
And it's so funny too, because the idea that he takes the power of Shazam away from Billy, it looks like he shrivels Billy up to an old man instead of just reverting back to a child.
Yeah, like, all of a sudden he's Black Adam. It's like, oh no, he's now a 90-year-old child. Eric is what?
Stranger.
Right on time. But yeah, that doesn't make, unless he's
a child.
No, because it doesn't even look like he's transferred back and forth. It would be
He's still wearing the Captain Marvel costume.
It would be kind of confusing if it was like a Freaky Friday situation. More of a vice versa. Like
I
now,
just don't know what the Wizard's powers are anymore and why he's pissed off if he can take the power back. He's like, they cut me off of the power. I don't got power anymore. Well, you have enough power to fucking have the power back, so I don't understand what your problem is.
That's probably my biggest fear, is that they're using Shazam in this book as kind of the secondary deal. It's Wonder Woman and Shazam. These are the big characters, and and we're not really going to get much of an explanation of what's going on, because at the end of this...
Because nobody has an explanation, because nobody understands how Shazam works ever since the 52 happened. But this is supposed to
be setting up the status quo for the Mark Waid book that comes in June, so I don't know what the hell they're doing, but hopefully they have something in mind.
Hopefully he can do something.
Well, so hopefully you get to a point at the end that you kind of know a little about what's going on, unless all of a sudden we find out it's the Wizard. It's the book about him. Nobody will like that. But by the end, what would you give it?
Ultimately, I think the art throughout this whole thing looks great. I love the way that this book looks. Billy going with Yellow Ford to Mount Olympus, that's really cool. Even the way they soon passed and the gods are like, what the hell? Like, this thing came by. I have no idea what it was. It's just cool. Billy using his powers to even fool gods. Hera kind of throws in his face like, boy, you fucking rely on your powers too much. Us gods, we got powers your boy ass can't even see. You don't even understand how powerful we are. There's a lot of cool stuff here. A lot of stuff that they gloss over, though, and just pass by the idea that this book, this event could be longer, more in depth, and just bigger on a scale, besides for them saying, hey, this is at a big scale. You saying that in that first issue with the other guys, it doesn't mean anything to me anymore, because it is our heroes versus Hera and the Wizard, essentially. And that's all we're going to hear about in a weird, dumbed down version. So while I look forward to this book each and every time it comes out, because I want it to be this big bad thing, what we're getting is not playing off as much as I would have liked, even though I think it looks great. So I'm giving this a 6.5 out of 10.
I'm going to give it a 6. I thought you were actually going to go 6. I'm going to give it a 6. Like I said, it's a shame.
This is better than Detective Comics for me, that's for sure.
I gave it the point up for me as well. So you end up where you have this going. You had that trial of the Amazons. That was bullshit. It really was. Yeah. I mean, but you gave that so many issues, and each issue was a slug. Like, I wish that this had a little more to it. Like I said, this feels like it would have been just a side Shazam tie-in. Let's get the big stuff going on in the main numbered titles here, and it just didn't feel as big.
And as weird as this is, too, I don't know if it's a thing with the waning powers, because while you might say that in the solicits, and we might have a panel where it could be possible if you look into it and think about it really hard, you could maybe see it there. I don't know if this is something, because while I like the way this book looks, Captain Marvel himself doesn't exactly look like Captain Marvel all the time. He looks like Billy Batson in a Captain Marvel suit, because he looks like he has the face of a boy at times.
Yeah. A child, Eric.
He
looks pretty buff on that cover.
I'm saying his face, though, when you go through this, though, it just doesn't look like Captain Marvel's face. It looks like Billy Batson's face.
Art. Because I think that G. Willow and especially, the Clune Reds, when they get involved, you'll have something like, hey, throw me that sack of wheat. And he'll be like, Shazam won't be able to pick it up or something. Oh, no. Like, you'll have something so in your face, I think, if it does end up happening. But we've been waiting for that. We wanted to see what does happen when
What does it mean?
And I like the idea, too, where Hera doesn't come out and say it. But while you were talking about it, I kind of thought the idea, like, Billy's there to say, oh, my God, I have the power of the gods. Da, da, da. But he is borrowing the power. Like, you would think that it's almost like in a kung fu movie when the master's fighting his student and it's like, you taught me everything I know. Not everything. I get that idea with the gods. They have, they might lend you some of that power, but they're the gods. So I like that. I wish that was even mentioned a little bit more. But really, I wish that Hera said, oh, I bet you're wondering why you're getting weak. I killed Zeus because he's just there. I wish that you pointed that out. I wish that was something and had something going on.
I want to go back and see that weird infected King Shazam one shot that we had, because I can't remember who he killed, but I thought it was maybe like Achilles or something along those lines. And even Hercules, I think, was killed by Grail at one point too. So even the strength of Hercules, what's going on with that?
I wouldn't mind seeing Grail show up, but also, you could even, I don't know how you'd play it, but Zeus being dead, maybe you have the idea that the power of Zeus is now being kept by Billy, that could be the spark to bring him back as well, even though gods always come back.
Oh, just have the key to the graveyard of the gods.
With all of that, then, and that is the first section of books there. We've done 3 of the books. We still have a bunch more. We're going to take a little bit break and then come back with an Elseworld story and another one here. An Elseworld story.
A graduation day.
And maybe it might end up being else. I don't know. It'll be the Dark Knights of Steel and the Blue Beetle when we come back. That's a good song for an Elseworlds kind of section,
Is it?
right, Eric? A little Elseworlds
It's
story
real
of you
world
and
stuff.
your buddies doing that. Knuckles got married. It all went to hell then. And I really was hoping that it would go far, Eric, but it did not. And that song,
if it
at
went
least,
far, we wouldn't be doing this, so me too.
that is true. Maybe we would be, but I'd be interviewing you, Eric, but I wouldn't because I don't like interviews. I don't like listening to them. I don't like doing them. So there you go. Here we are in the section, and we're going to start out with a bit of an Elseworlds deal. And with that, Eric, you enjoying this here Dark Knights of Steel? You liking?
What's that?
The Dark Knights of Steel.
I'm saying though, but I don't remember that book. What is that?
That is you don't know the Elseworlds story, Eric, is what we're going to start with.
I just know that we're going into this, and I don't remember the last time this book came out.
Okay, that was your joke. I was like, what the hell is he talking about?
It was such a shock jumping in back into this issue. I'm like, where the hell did we leave off?
I forget. The funny play is
Alfred Martian Manhunter. So that's right. Crazy. Not Alfred Spectre.
That's what I thought of right away. I'm like, why didn't we think of that when Alfred became the Spectre? Like, man,
we forgot about this book.
Tom Taylor, every time he does an Elseworlds, he's just changing Alfred from here to there to everywhere, Eric.
Alfred Hourman.
I was the same. I was the same deal where when I'm like, okay, let me try to figure out what's going on. Okay, people are dead. Yeah, got that. And like, it's up. When he starts talking about how much he loved Bruce like a son, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Oh, it's Alfred. I remember now because it's been quite a while. And we did have the idea that Tom Taylor had come out and said he'll go with a schedule that's right for him. He kind of just said that I'm going to get to that book when I get to it. I actually, even by the end of this, because it's been so long, I actually thought it was just 10 issues. I was thinking more deceased kind of, I guess. I don't know. But by the end, I'm like, oh, we have 2 more issues. Okay, so we have time to do things. Thank God, because we're just going to deal with Alfred. We're going to deal with Alfred and the idea that he
came
is
out January 3rd is when the last issue came out.
Yeah, that's crazy. I even thought, didn't you think that when you looked, you were afraid that it didn't come out that much long ago? It's just because we do so much.
We're dummies.
But it did. But it did come out a while ago. Dark Knights of Steel number 10 is written by Tom Taylor with art by Yasmin Putri, Arif Priano, and Wes Abbott. Like I said, we're going to get a background of Martian Manhunter, Alfred, John Johns. Get the idea, because Eric said all along that he thought it was white Martians disguised as green. You're right. You were pretty much on the money. You did most of it. You were pretty much on it, though, with it. But the only thing that you get here is the little twist from what really the John Johns backstory. If you know John Johns backstory, you kind of get that, but there's that little bit to add into this so that the white Martian can, come here and follow him and be the big bad.
The thing is, we had the white Martians on Mars, we had the green Martians, and the white Martians, they had this asshole that our leader, Protex. He rallied everybody together, and he's all like,
sounds
look,
like a condom, right?
It does. I wouldn't know. I don't use them, but you don't use them either, so it doesn't really matter.
I don't.
We have Protex, and I just wish it was Malfalac at this point in time. Like, he's like, look, us white Martians, we're way better than those green assholes. We should wipe them out, enslave them, whatever, just as long as we're doing better than them. Green Martians fought back. We had a big war that eventually devastated Mars, and we had John Johns come back down to Earth. But a few of the white Martians that survived the final battle, they came down too. So we have a pretty much a handful of Martians, green and white, to deal with on Earth. And the thing is, while this has been a terrible situation, all this time, because monarchs have been killed left and right, this has been the big catalyst now that John Johns is talking about him, who he is, what's really going on in the background of all this. It has brought all 3 houses together to say, we have to work together. The House of Storms, the House of Elves, and the Themyscirans are all coming together to say, we're working together because we have a greater threat who's been manipulating us from the background. And we get that in a really long-form story. And it's such a weird idea, because whenever I get into a Tom Taylor story, I think, boy, that went by really fast. But because of all the background and we had to deal with the Martians and not really actually dealing with the Dark Knights of Steel characters as we want to see them, like the interesting parts, this almost felt like a slog at times, but still not like an overwhelming slog, because it's still a Tom Taylor story. But it went slower than it normally does. And I just want to see the character moments, because you have at one point like Diana mourning the death of her mother, and we have Zala, the Supergirl of this world, come to her and they hug. It's like a page and move on back to our story.
And with that, you have all the queens and Poison Ivy. You have the women taking it for themselves, Eric. They're going to do it. And so when you have that, though, really by the end.
Oh, yeah. And Poison Ivy coming in here and I represent the queen, Mother Nature. So I'm going to hang out with the rest of the queens here because I belong here. I'm like, You protected a forest for like 5 minutes. What the fuck you doing?
She walks in, says, I'm here for the Earth, sits down, and immediately she's the one that starts interrogating.
4 queens interrogated an alien.
Come on here. Let them talk. But you end up where that's the play there, the queens coming together. And while the big thing was the white Martians and Protex coming, that trying to divide these houses and really get rid of these superpowered people who could take them down, doing it in an underhanded way because they're going to do that. But now it's united them in a way. And they even say that, let's do this and get united. But in that, I mean, I don't know. It's not quite the same, but it's almost deceased with Erebus. Like we get at the very end, we get the big bad. We have gone now. We still haven't really seen much of Protex. We see him by the very end, but that's the big bad is something that just shows up at the very end.
Well, and that's I'm telling you, we're sacrificing the rest of the story that we've actually cared about up until this point because now Protex is largely in charge. When all the like. We had the idea. People were yelling at Constantine, you son of a bitch. People were dead because you had a prophecy that we had to do all this stuff. And like, you know, King Pierce Jefferson died and then his son Jacob died. And then Jacob comes out because honestly, I also forgot that, you know, Constantine and Ra's al Ghul resurrected Jacob and he's alive now. Jacob comes out of nowhere and Queen Anissa is like, oh my God, we buried you. There's all of these moments. All right, let's move on. We have to do other stuff, Protex stuff. I'm like, fuck.
The 3 best moments I thought were when they're yelling at Constantine. Again, that just was okay. That's what they did. And Constantine's been trying to avoid that. Like his whole deal is
he's already upset too. He's led people to their death because of his goddamn mind. And that
prophecy has been more of a curse. So he's saying, but there's one line that I actually like. Why aren't we dealing? Because when you end up having Alfred / John / Martian Manhunter, when he says, I came down and the Waynes found me and they made me hide because they knew that I wouldn't be accepted. And I'm like, that's a great deal of thing. Like that shows the Waynes were so good and all that, even though they start cheating and things. But I like that. But I wanted to, you know, you don't see it.
The Waynes kept me safe. They knew who I was and they kept me there. They left me in charge of their son. Great people, the Waynes. They saw an alien come down and said, you need to disguise yourself. Don't tell anybody what you are because they won't accept you. And then some other aliens came down and went, and Wayne fucked them.
Those guys can't, you know, disguise themselves. And plus, you know, he was horny.
They took over everything and they started nailing him.
Yeah, you start nailing him.
Me, I'm the butler. Motherfucker wins.
Luckily, Alfred doesn't go full out in the idea that, yeah, that Thomas, he really had to make sure I was good to go.
He made me hide and he banged the other aliens.
The third best part is at the end when we actually get, even though I don't quite understand exactly what happened with the whole Green Man and stuff like that. I'm like, was he the Ring? No. Was he?
The thing is, I sat there and I thought maybe this is a cool way to do it. The idea of the prophecy of well, I totally think he should have been the Ring, but even then caused some problems because we are in an Elseworld. The Green Man was a part of the prophecy. This guy here who then has been a thorn in the House of Elseide this entire time. The Lex Luthor of this world who's also Jokerized and also a Green Lantern of this world. It's a goddamn nightmare is what it is. But all of a sudden, it turns out that this Lex Luthor character has never had any power. The ring that he has, it seems to be Protex, who then rips out of him. And I guess I can't even say it because
I don't know. Because the ring is still on the hand that gets ripped off.
Exactly. I'm looking at that. And then, but Protex is then wearing it.
Was he the wrappings around that arm? But you would take those off at points because I see him.
Even the thing is, the ring is talking to him and then starts making fun of him. Like, why would we give power to somebody who talks to inanimate objects?
I know, and that's what he said. And that was kind of funny, the idea. You really thought this ring was talking to you, but it was weird.
We have a handful of white Martians here. The Green Man, Lex Luthor, is dead, and the Green Lantern ring that he was wearing, Protex is now wearing, and I don't know if it actually has Green Lantern power, even though it should, because that's the problem I have. I wanted Protex to be the ring in disguise this whole time, but the green powers that he has doesn't go with white Martian powers, so it doesn't make any sense.
That's the problem.
So I don't know where Protex was on Lex Luthor's body. I just know that there was a Green Lantern ring that he was using somehow, but it was Protex talking to him and not the ring.
But he also had powers.
I thought it was an amazing bit at first, the idea that, like, the Green Man, the prophecy was actually Protex in disguise, could make, like, you know, luring Lex Luthor to this false sense of power this whole time.
I don't think it makes much sense when you think it out,
But by the end, when
right?
you look at it, it doesn't make a goddamn wicked sense. And I hope for the next issue, they explain it.
Yeah, I went in like a genie or something. Then I thought, well, if he's the ring, then that means every day, like Lex's finger in him. I thought that was pretty cool, Eric.
See, I don't know why you take this weird
by the end of it, though, I sat there and, like, he's also, like, coming to and he's there, but the hand's over there, but it's kind of, he's grabbed it.
If you look at all the other White Martians after Lex Luthor is killed, they all phase in. They were intangible, invisible at that point in time. It looks like Protex is that as well. He comes up behind him and rips his arm off. But I don't understand because he's still talking about the idea of an inanimate object. Are they using their telepathy through the ring to talk to him in his mind? Or is it just telepathy talking to him, making him think the ring is talking to him?
I wanted it to be the ring.
The thing is, there's all these questions, but ultimately we can't say anything for sure because we have no idea how Green Lanterns of this universe work, so it doesn't matter.
But that's what I thought. You should have done that. You should have explained. Maybe we will. But, the explanation could have been cool of how this is, even if you had like a genie, Eric, because it's living fire. I don't know.
I just figure at this point in time, the meteorite came down. Lex Luthor got freaking Jokerized through the fire of the freaking meteorite, found the ring, became a Green Lantern, used that power to kill the elves and anybody else who got in his way because he's a goddamn monster in this world. But it never talked to him. This is an inanimate object of power where Protex used him, made him think with telepathy that the ring was talking to him to make him do what he wanted to do and move him around the board. That's all I got.
But we don't know how it works.
But now Protex is a Green Lantern at the end of this.
So why would he be able to just grab the ring? I'm even thinking that thing flies off. Is he?
It
but
fell
we don't
down
know
in a
the
meteorite,
rules.
like Alan Scott's stuff kind of did.
Yeah, but then he got it, and it also felt like the whole deal with Hal as well. Except it was a meteorite, not a ship, and Abin Sur instead. It was that. It kind of got wonky by the end. I
don't know how this core works, if there even is a core.
Yeah, I know. We've been talking about that, but again. John Johns, his family got killed. White Martians, that's pretty standard. You get a little bit of a different twist to it, but it's pretty much
Alfred.
The same. And yeah, he's Alfred, and you can trust him. And the play here, though, is weird because really what you want to do here is think, oh my God, he's the Green Man, but it's Alfred, and that kind of gets pushed aside really quickly. Hey, get the lasso.
Because we have the Green Man, who's also, you figure, we had to put Alfred into hiding from, as John Johns, because there's a prophecy of a Green Man going around. We can't let the people know there's a Green Martian kid around because they're going to say everybody's doomed. We can't have that. So make yourself a white old man, take care of our kid, and just keep your mouth shut when I bang other aliens that show up.
I just think that in the deal, I think that with that, though, they should have given a couple issues. Maybe Alfred gets caught like this. They put him in and you don't know right away that he's not the big bad. You think he might be. They just kind of shove it at you and pull it away just to get you to Protex.
But the prophecy of the Green Man seems to be Lex Luthor being manipulated telepathically by the White Martians with his Green Lantern ring. And that's it.
And it brought the houses together.
And ultimately, I just want to sit here, take some issues and talk about, the half Kryptonian Bruce Wayne and how that works and the idea of being a half brother and having powers and what's that mean ultimately. But we don't have enough time to do anything. So we have 2 issues left and we just keep building and building, but we have no time to do anything with what we've built.
I'm still waiting for the Suicide Squad to be more of it. Waller's there. She keeps popping up and I want more
Bullseye,
of that. I want more of that.
Bullseye, Deadshot.
2 pages. We didn't get shit. I want more of those things. There are a lot of interesting things about this story. And it seems like he's now run out of time.
I have to go back. What's Dinah and Green Arrow doing after they freed everybody in the dungeon?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't read. It comes out so sporadically. Also, I was really worried. I don't know about you, but when we first start, you get heavy narration. And I'm like, oh, is he going to do the same thing he just did in Deceased? But he doesn't. It comes out and I was like, thank God. Because that's really when you're like, oh shit, I got to put the pedal to the metal here. But really, it's a shame. Because I don't know that he's even interested. It doesn't seem like this is his big priority overall. And there's so many stories that seem to be left on the table here that were more interesting. It should have just
and maybe like Deceased, we could have a lot of spin-offs that really flesh out those stories a bit.
Maybe we'll see. I guess it sells okay when it comes out, but it just if it was something that he was real into, I think that the schedule would be a little more tight than it is. But yeah, you would have figured by this point we'd be hot and heavy with Bruce, Kal-El, but we're not. We're just kind of trying to, because you didn't do any of the big stories. So at the end, it's okay though. You get the things. Again, it's almost like that Lazarus Planet nonsense, the Revenge of the Gods. I didn't hate it. I just was in this one. I was more upset because I wanted more, of the other characters.
No, I agree. I'm telling you, like I said, we built all this other stuff and we have an entire issue here that's dealing with the idea of this reveal of Alfred being the Martian Manhunter. And now we have to talk about what happened to his world and who the real big bad is and a reveal of the big bad by the end. And it didn't do much for the series. I'm telling you, it did a lot for the series overall because we have a direction, but for everything built up, it almost felt like a lackluster issue to what we had built up to previously, if that makes sense to you, because the White Martian thing, Yeah, and I'm saying the White Martian thing's great because that's what I thought it was the entire time. Well, actually, I just wanted it to be the Green Martians to fill in the Green Man prophecy, but we have what we have here. It's a lot of exposition to get us to the point. All right, we're rallied up now because we have someone to fight against, which is fine. And it's all I want because it could be really cool. It just didn't do it in a very exciting way, ultimately.
And we have 2 more issues with it. And I think that the play here is the reveal's cool. You get that deal, but it's not that it's out of nowhere, but it kind of does just like come at you. We've been going and you only have a couple more issues left, so you have to throw this out there. And I really thought that play with Alfred being revealed as a Martian could have really been played well. And it's just, hey, he's a Martian. He's a Green Man. No, I'm not. He's not. What do we do now? It's Protex. All right. And then we go. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
And all the big moments that you want to have with the characters that you've spent all the time with throughout the series so far, all of their personal moments get stepped on because we got some exposition and backstory to talk about.
Yeah, you have, Kara's there just to comfort Wonder Woman, which is nice, but it's just one page. Yeah, Zala. It's just one page, though. And then you go on with, the whole deal with, hey, we're going to go forward. Alfred's on the up and up, and we got to face Protex. I would have liked that Protex. He doesn't really know that Protex. He's like, they survived. I think it might be it's Protex. So they're going to do that. But what would you give it by the end?
Ultimately, I like the art, and I like the direction we're going. I just wish we had some room to do stuff here, but I'm going to give it a 6.8 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 7. I like the art, and I still am into the story. I just thought that this was more like the idea of Alfred, Martian Manhunter deal. Maybe you could have had that at a point, like reveal that earlier and have like the annual or some side story with that background. I wanted it to hit hard with the main characters here, but we do get the big reveal.
The big reveal was back in January, so I'm sure it was a big deal. If we would have had the issue come out in February for like 2nd or whatever it would have been, it might have like hit harder. But right now I'm so far removed in the Dark Knights of Steel. I'm like, oh, yeah, that happened. Okay, let's find out about Mars.
It's funny because by the time that I realized, oh, my God, it's Alfred, they've already kind of cleared him by then. I'm like, okay, well, there he was. And that's what stuck with me. Man, those wings were kind of cool back then. They changed it up a little later, nailing everyone. They were just horned up, Eric, right? And
what else is there's no TV or internet?
Well, the elves are better looking than John Johnson.
He can look like anything. How dare you?
He can, but that gets weird. I think. I don't know. Thomas doesn't want to go down
look like
that
my
route.
Wife.
Yeah, he doesn't want to go down that route. And I think maybe we have to consider that maybe Alfred John Johns didn't want to go down that route either. So who knows?
Alien, you're on iWorld now. You're playing by my rules.
Exactly. Come here, Green Man. But we'll move on to the next book. What is that, Eric?
Blue Beetle, Graduation Day #5, written by Josh Trujillo, art by Adrian Gutierrez, Will Quintana, and Lucas Gattoni. And now we have the big battle between Blue Beetle and the Justice League that Batman's put together to stop Jaime from doing anything because we have a Reach invasion on our hands, which is really an offshoot of the Reach. So I hate the Reach called the Horizon, but we get to see a big issue of Shazam, Black Condor, Jessica Cruz, Wally West going around and trying to stop the other Beetles that the Horizon
They're not really doing
have.
much, right? They're just kind of like they show up and say, hey, I got this long shade, and I'm going to wrap it around
Palmyra City.
The problem with this, and I said it, I did a video review, and I even told you earlier, the idea where you throw in the Justice League, and I've said this a lot of times in books, like if you have a book in Gotham, and you have, say, me and you have a Solomon Grundy book, right? We love Solomon Grundy.
Sure do.
You don't want to add the Joker in, because the Joker then becomes bigger. The Joker becomes the foe. And the idea that you have this, I guess, faux Justice League kind of thing.
I want to call it Justice League Task Force.
Yeah, so you bring in Task Force JL, and you're going to have to use them.
Oh, and Cyborg, too, is part of that.
Yeah, Cyborg. So you're going to have to use them, and there's so many characters, they have to do something that's going to take up page space, and they become more of a focus than some of the... When you have Batman and Superman involved, it is kind of silly at points to have just a Blue Beetle say, I'm doing this, Batman, and you're going to deal with it. And he agrees because it's the Blue Beetle book. But this is the penultimate issue. The big thing that I wanted throughout all of this was show me how cool Jaime is. Show me the Scarab. Finally, at the end, he can talk to the Scarab. But for the penultimate issue, you get a little of it.
Well, you get like random members of the Justice League taking on the Green Beetle and the Gold Beetle, essentially, and that's what you have until Jaime's like, look, I gotta do something because I'm the Blue Beetle and I gotta step up. Well, all of a sudden, Starfire, it felt weird this entire series, but this issue especially is like, I gotta be the advocate for Jaime Reyes. Cyborg is gonna fire down on them. We're Teen Titans. We haven't met like friends and like team members for a long time. I have to reach Vic Stone, and for some reason, yeah, it's all fine and good, Coriander, but I'm still going to do the shot here. I'm like, it's such a weird thing where we have all of these characters that are featured trying to be the main focus of the book when Jaime Reyes eventually gets to be that by the end, when he should have been at this whole time. But everything we had previously, like in the last issue with Fadeaway and Brenda and Paco, they're nowhere to be seen in this issue. They're just out.
Fadeaway's mentioned quickly by Victoria, who says, you let your cool friend steal my jacket. I'm like, how cool was he? I mean, really?
He's kind of cool, I guess.
In that, though, I actually wanted Paco, Brenda, and Fadeaway because that's what the story kind of should have been. Yeah, I like the idea of these other Beetles, but it got too big right away. And at this point with the Justice League, now that's the problem. We ended up talking earlier in the Revenge of the Gods. This is a big story. We have to get all where are the other characters? But in this, for a solo book, you don't need to set up that big, like they shouldn't have been involved. And when they do come in, it shouldn't have been. I just looked at it until the one page where I think that really Jaime is featured is when he steps in with the two other Beetles and says, listen, I'm with them, and he got freed by Dynastus. Yeah, that's page 15 in like a 21-page book. That's too much time gone on to let this go like that. And so by the end, and you even asked, you said yesterday when we were doing some recording, said, oh man, but Black Condor, how's he? And I'm like, he shows up.
He comes in. He's like, "You call me Black Condor."
Yeah, I think I said you. I think I said he comes in and yells his name and hangs out. And boy, that Josh Giglio was going on Twitter about how this is the greatest thing because of Black Condor. I need the writer of the, Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle book to be telling me how great Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle is, and he's so happy about this Black Condor, and it just felt like. Come on, at points, I just kept thinking to myself, come on, let's get Jaime out here. And when he does, it's actually decent enough.
It's good. No, I'm telling you, but it's the end of the book when that finally happens.
Yeah, it's the end, and now we have one more issue, and the idea of a Reach invasion, but it's actually the Horizon.
The Horizon, who hate the Reach, and they're actually good guys.
And what the big reveal here is, we already knew. Corey already said, she's like, I looked through the Titan's computer and saw that the Horizon, they actually don't like the Reach. So,
and that's the thing. She's looking through files of stories she already told us in this series.
Yeah, we already
talk
saw
about
that.
It all over again. And the thing is, you know how you get hung up on little things like that chocolate bar sitting in Castle's freaking, shirt pocket and Detective Comics? There was a moment that I got hung up on here. There's a few moments.
I get hung up on a lot of things, but yes. What did you get hung up on?
There's a moment where when Shazam is fighting the Yellow Beetle, Dynastus, and she punches him back. And I swear to God, he flies backwards and knocks over a flying car where the passenger's honking at him. And I'm like, what the hell is going on in Palmyra City? Like, what is this?
Actually, sorry, ma'am. It's funny because you say that. Now I'm looking at it and I thought that's weird. It's a spaceship there. I'm looking. It looked like the Batmobile at first. Then I'm looking at it and I swear to God, it looks like Tanya Spears.
It exactly looks like Tanya Spears.
The puff hair and it looks like a rocket ship. I don't know what's going on there. And so in this, and I do like the anime style art. It fits the book, but a lot of times in fights like this, you kind of lose a little track of what's happening because there's not much backgrounds going on, but it looks okay.
No,
it's very exciting when you look at it. Yeah, it's very exciting to look at, but it's just like you're just meandering about. And you have a moment with Ted where he's like, it's the Poe thing again. I can't hear you, Batman. Okay, you're breaking up.
That's
funny. Okay. That's okay. Yeah. And you have Batman at the end.
Ted Cord sticking at the Batman, and even the idea of Victoria Cord not knowing that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Like, look, I overran his tech. I don't know why Batman uses like silly ass Wayne technology. I can still hear you. Oh shit.
And then it just, but by the end, and then when he gets blasted, you kind of get a recap of his troubles with his parents. They want him. It's okay.
No, that's the thing. It's nice. I don't know what the hell it means because, we have Jaime show up. He's going to defend, the Green Beetle and the Yellow Beetle from the Justice League and talk about how we're all one and the same and how we should be working together. I want everybody to stop trying to kill me for 1 second. And then when we have Cyborg's blast come down and Jaime jumps in the way and takes the full force of this blast, he then has an out-of-body experience where faceless people of his parents talk about the idea of him, deciding what he wants to be. What's your next choice in life? And he's not ready for it. He doesn't want to take that next step. That's why he's in Palmyra City working with this Ann Steiner because he doesn't want to go to college. He doesn't know what he wants to be when he grows up. He doesn't know how to juggle all of that and being Blue Beetle because he's still trying to figure out how to be Jaime Reyes and the Blue Beetle at this point in time. And then it becomes the Reach talking to him like...
Yeah, the Reach are trying to convince him.
And I don't understand what this out-of-body experience is until eventually when he does come to, Kanji Da, his scarab, is able to be talking to him again. All of a sudden, the programming that was affecting him previously throughout the series, that's gone now. And now Jaime is all supercharged, armored up, and Kanji Da's like, yeah, me, Hermano, we're back together again. I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
It's weird because it almost feels like because of that, he wakes up and then he kind of steps forward and says, listen, I am a hero now. And it's like, it was always within you all along.
I choose to fight for peace, even that means standing against you, Batman.
And then his armor transforms, and then he's now talking to Kanji Da, the Scarab. But it did feel like the Scarab was just sitting there like, I'm not going to do this till he shows me he's a hero. But
like, is it that bullshit from like the Spider-Man 2 movie where Spider-Man was losing his powers because he didn't have confidence?
Exactly. That's what it seems to me to be, but you never play that out fully. But that's what it looks like.
I don't understand. He got hit by Cyborg's blast to take out the Beetle thing, but this whole idea of him not being able to talk, the Scarab armor being like, on the fritz this entire series, it feels like it should have been the Horizon doing this because it's Reach technology and they oppose the Reach.
I think that maybe what you could have done, it might not have worked as much, but the idea where, yeah, it looks like he's become a hero, whatever, but the blast from Cyborg, whatever that blast is, actually goes and de-scrambles something, or it ends up kickstarting it. It shuts down and turns back on. I don't know. You could add just the blast itself.
I also want Kanji Da to have his, his original programming still intact. Well, you think the character of the Scarab has evolved to the point where it's just not Reach technology anymore. Him and Jaime want to be, heroes, even though Kanji Da, for the most part, always wants to go a more lethal approach. It's a fun little dynamic that you don't see in Blue Beetle anymore. But the big thing that we introduced previously, like years and years ago, is that the Reach are really opposed to the Green Lantern Corps. Whenever the Green Lantern Corps are around the Reach Scarabs, they freak the fuck out and go on kill overdrive mode.
And you don't even have
that with Jessica Cruz Green Lantern.
I don't think
here.
that this Josh Julio would even know that. I don't think that he looked that much into this because
I love those interactions.
Overall, with this, and they do fight, but it didn't feel like that, right?
Well, they fight the other Beetles, and I can understand that the Horizon might not feel the same way about the Green Lanterns as the Reach do. But it's just, you don't have that anymore. It's just,
I'm saying, at one point, I don't know. Maybe you should have done that, and maybe, like, Jaime wouldn't even realize what's going on, because at that point, the Scarab wasn't talking to him, and it might
I might even use that as a way to get Kanji Da back, where it goes back to its base programming because of Green Lantern's around, and it's able to overcome whatever the Horizon is doing to screw up the armor. I don't know. Something.
I don't think that he knows that. And the problem I've had throughout this whole series.
Superman also says great Ral in this.
Yeah, when I saw that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that has been spelled out by Dan Jurgens went on and said that any writer who says great Ral with Superman knows
references
bullshit about
like that,
Superman. Yeah, he's not from there. He'd only learn it later. He wouldn't use that. And that is just, we always look for that when you have that. So, though, like, the moments are nice enough. They seem a little forced by the end, but my big play here, though, is you ended up having Josh Trujillo, where you have a movie supposedly coming out. I'm still not convinced it's going to come out, but whatever the whole play
ain't gonna
is.
Batgirl, come on.
The ideal of, trying to show people how cool Jaime is, you handcuffed him throughout, and seem to be more concerned with these other Scarabs in the Horizon because he's here. And it's a weird play. If you're doing a series, an ongoing series, then start to change around the mythos, try to change things. But if you have a 6-issue mini, you have to come out of the gates and have the character
get to the point.
Full point and show how cool he is. And then hopefully people are into it.
People have already bailed.
Yeah, they bailed. And because it really doesn't have much.
I came in this wanting Blue Beetle, and you gave me a character who was handcuffed from the get-go, and it took 5 issues to get him to be supercharged, let alone Blue Beetle.
And you were concerned with everything else. I mean, just this issue isn't just the worst, with the idea of the Justice League JL task force coming in.
Just Justice League Task Force. It was a team once. It's fine.
And never, Starfire shows up for no reason.
Yeah, she doesn't make any sense.
And now seems to have this weird connection. Like, I know you like Jaime, but like, really? Like, when did that happen? It just felt weird.
Should have just been Ted Cord and even I'm telling you, you bring in the character like Victoria Cord, that's a new character for the book. Just have it be Ted and Victoria this entire time. That's all you need with Jaime. And maybe, since you brought in Brendan Paco at one point, have Brendan Paco. And actually, just make it El Paso. I don't know why we have to go to Palmyra City. You can be aimless for your future ambitions in your hometown.
He moves here. What did they do with the ants? Why did he have to move there? No reason. It almost felt like Josh Trujillo thought that they had to move there because that's where Ted was.
But Ted was in El Paso.
Yeah, I don't think he knows. I think that something got wacky. I don't think that he knows. And I ended up, and I knew the name was something. I'm just Josh Trujillo. I knew I'd read something from him because when we started this, we're like, we never heard of him. We're going in. And he did write one of the worst comics I've ever read. It was kind of a weird side comic, but it was Batman.
Tim Drake Robin.
Batman and the FaZe Clan.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about that.
Bad. Oh, my God. It was so bad. But the idea of Batman and the FaZe Clan already, you're not going to get a winner out of that, I think. But the way, oh, my God, the dialogue and some of just the shit that went on in that was bad. And I just realized that this week. And I'm like, this is better. I mean, this is at least readable. It just is, it's a shame because Blue Beetle doesn't get that much opportunity. And now you're going to give him this.
This isn't doing Jaime any favors.
No, I mean, it does seem like they always want to hamper him and handicap him with the, like, just let's see him do shit. Let's see him go. And other
heroes are the main focus of this issue for the majority of it.
Yeah, and go and have his mom and dad, like, we want you to do something. They know all about it. And he said, well, I'm going to be hero and I'm doing this. That should be the idea. Well, I am doing something. I'm a hero. No, you're not. You're not on the Justice League. You're bullshit. And then he goes off to try to prove himself. But let him do it. Let him do it. Not just the last 3 pages of his own solo series issue. That is the penultimate issue. And now we have the Horizon coming in. The Justice League, they're not leaving. Starfire, everybody's still here. So you have so many characters that you don't need.
And the green and yellow Beetle.
Yeah. I don't know anything about them. I remember Dynasty's name for the most part, but Nitwit, what's his name? Nydia. I always forget.
I'm telling you, the thing is, these are all different Beetle kind of names, and I'm not a smart person, so I always forget about them too. Dynastis, I always think about Grant Dynasty from Castlevania 3 growing up, so that's all I think about.
It's funny because I was going to mention it in the Knights of Steel, Dark Knights of Steel, when you ended up saying you wished it was Malifaux. I'm like, no, I never can. I always say it wrong. So Protex, it's good for me. And I swear to God, Tom Taylor's the same way. He's like, I can't say that name. I'm not, call him Protex. He like Kaiser Sose that, and he had condoms on his shelf. So what would you give this, though?
Thing is, I think that the art style is cool. I think the colors pop off, and you can definitely have some fun with this issue because of all the heroes involved. Problem is, I'm here for Jaime Reyes, Blue Beetle. I love this character. I want to see him, do as much as he can in a series that has his name on the title. I want to know what Graduation Day is all about. He's now a hero because all of a sudden a shot from Cyborg said, oh, I can have my Kanji Da back or superpower because of a neural neutralizer that scrambles the host and the Scarab. I don't know how that worked out, but we have a Jaime Reyes and Kanji Da back again the last few pages of this issue. The story's not great. The thing is, I'm getting to the point, I'm doing a roundabout way of saying I didn't get what I wanted from the story until the final few pages. I think the art's fine, but the whole thing, like the characters feel weird for what we have here, and the whole setup is still a weird situation. So this is not a good issue overall, even though you can have some fun in a book that looks fun and good. 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm going to go 5.8. That's even lower than when I did my video review because reading it again, it really pointed out the deal. And the weird play of this, it's called Blue Beetle Graduation Day. And as you go, you had a graduation actually in the first issue, almost the first couple pages, but it seemed the graduation was to become a hero, right? So by the end here, when he stands up there, that's no different than what he's been the whole time. Like there isn't a real big change of him realizing he has to be more mature.
There's no difference from Infinite Crisis.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like you almost expected something would change with him, not just a suit change, but you have it where he's now in this point of life where he's thinking too much of himself. He doesn't care. He doesn't trust people because of what happened before. He's this. He didn't have any of that. For the most part, he's been running scared from these other Beetles. He was trying to do something with them, but he couldn't do anything because he couldn't talk to Scarab, but he wasn't really being mean or over the top with him or anything like that.
We spent an issue with him getting duped by Fadeaway.
Yeah. And actually, that might have been the best thing that happened in this
really
whole
was.
thing, right? Wasn't it? And we even laughed about it, but I think it was because Paco and Brenda were there. That was cool.
We got Blue Beetle.
I'm waiting for this deal, and I think that Josh Trilio thinks that stepping up and saying, no, you cannot do this to these Beetles. They're just like me. I struggled to the reach, and that's why we had that of the mind that you said didn't really make total sense, but that's to reinforce the idea of, look, he's always fighting the reach off with Kanji Da, so he can do it, so can they, even though we're kind of saying that they're not bad, but they are. And so there was no real, any sort of progression. You just ended up Jaime being a good guy like he always is and stepping up like he always does. But you've never seen it in this issue because Josh Trilio will never give you enough Jaime to get it. So it just was weird. It was weird deal, and yeah.
And I hated the Flash's lettering for his dialogue boxes.
Yeah, and then, I'm glad and not glad at one point. You have Wally running around, and at one point, Blue Beetle yells, "Hey, why do you talk so fast?" And usually you get that everything's one word sentence, and it drives me nuts because I can't read it. At least you didn't get that, but you never really got the idea of, he's talking fast. And Black Condor. I'm Black Condor, bitch. And that's
badass.
All right. Yeah, he did. When he first shows up, that looks awesome. When he's got, I'm telling you, this guy knows how to enter a room. He's like Salt Bay.
With his wings.
And it even looks like he's throwing salt off his wings onto the steak, right? Did you watch that video that I sent you of Salt Bay? I wanted you to see. He's giving sexy steak to ladies. You have to watch it there. It's
giving sexy steak to ladies.
Watch it, and you'll know what I'm saying. Everybody who knows what I'm saying has to be like, because this guy is ridiculous. He ends up feeding people sexy steaks. He covers them in gold so he could charge $2,000 a steak, and it doesn't do anything.
When the hell would I have time to do any of this? I'm an adult. I had to spend my time reading comic books today, watching TMNT, and playing video games.
Well, just to tell everybody, Eric, did you notice what sort of thing I sent you? I didn't send you a video. I sent you a short. The thing is like 8 seconds long.
Isn't that all you ever sent me?
Yeah, really. You end up, I'll kill you. You end up your life short. 8 seconds. And you would laugh. You would send me back. You'd be typing, "Thank you, Jimmy.
You did it.
Thank you, Jimmy. You're a brave boy.
You brought a smile to my
Jimmy,
face.
and I love you." That's what you'd say. You'd laugh. I'm telling you, this lady who's getting the steak, that husband of hers better watch out. There is a video where this one guy's like, "No, you're not feeding steak like that to my wife, you asshole." And he backed off. I think this dude was big, though. He cuts the steak sexy. He gives it sexy, Eric. And when he's cooking, he's gyrating and humping the steak.
I don't need that.
Wait, this guy charges exorbitant amounts to feed you sexy steaks, Eric.
But I'm poor.
Like I said, they have that edible gold. And, like, there's steaks that are, like, wrapped.
I don't need that shit. What the fuck is wrong with people? God, I hate people.
It's like $2,000. Crazy.
You'll give me a double quarter pound with cheese.
There are so many, all these foodies on TikToks, more the YouTubes, they'll
I call
have,
them
like,
assholes.
I go to Salt Bay and see what the menu's like. And they have that. And I'm like, you guys have too much money. I watch my man, Nick. Nick went, and he kind of liked it. He met Salt Bay. I think he thought he was a douche. Yeah, my man
I said,
Nick.
I was reading comic books, playing video games, and watching turtle cartoons. I said I didn't have time for it.
My man Nick has like 10 million followers. He's trying to catch Gordon Ramsay. Also,
my man Nick.
Also, my man Uncle Roger. You have to watch that video. You will laugh so hard. Never let Jess near him. Unless you want her to leave, because sexy steak. You got to see how he feels. I mean, he feeds it like he's just this.
It's a motherfucking Pied Piper of pussy, apparently.
I'm telling you. That's crazy. It is crazy. You got to watch it. But with all that, that's the end of the section. Eric Salt Bay Shea here. Salt Shea, I'll call you from now on. You better remember that for the intro
Uncle
next
Salty.
week. Salt Shea. What he does is he has the salt in his hands and he lets it like roll down his forearms onto the steak. It's really odd.
I'm so angry even hearing you describe
really odd. And then he cuts it up sexy, and then he hits it, and it spreads, right? And then he gets this knife and stabs one of the things and then feeds you. Man, woman, anything. He's just going to feed you that steak.
I can't imagine being a person living through this experience because it would just drive me nuts. It would make me so angry.
You would be so... I would do what I would do at parties. Like, I would see I'm at a New Year's Eve party. I don't want to hug people or kiss them when New Year's hits, so I'd always go to the bathroom like 1 minute before. Is this Salt Bay? He comes over. You're paying so much money. Bitch. I'd be in the bathroom. Is he done with that fucking... I don't need that salt running down his sweaty-ass forearms either. But
Gross.
Seriously, these women look like they're just ready to strip and jump on them. It's crazy. Jump on it, indeed. But that's enough Salt Bay talk. I might have to put it in the title. But we'll be off to another section of books. A section of books that's quite the journey. Quite the
clown
journey.
Section.
So it is the clown section, as you will say in a couple minutes, because, boy, it's tough. But we'll be going to that right about now. Yes, Eric, they love Punchline. And after reading...
Honey, yeah.
After reading this week's Harley Quinn, I can see why, Eric. Oh, my goodness. That's why it's first on the list here for this last section of books. It is the dawn of DC. Now, if we're going to ever have a checklist, like if we ended up having, hey, let's give a report card to the dawn of DC books. I mean, I don't know about this. It can get better. It can get better, Eric, but we're going to have some problems. The problem is it's the first book and it's this is your first step forward. You really think that you come hitting hard, right?
It's
that
the worst
this is
thing
the
about
story.
We've been bitching about what we had with Stephanie Phillips, Harley Quinn for a while now. We were praising it at the beginning because we were getting a complex Harley with fun characters who's doing something different in the idea of Harley redeeming herself with Kevin by her side doing interesting things.
And
we
Solomon
quickly got
Grundy.
away and Solomon Grundy. And we quickly got away from that for some goofy nonsense that didn't fit with the book that we had previously before that, and then just spiraled into more and more nonsense with the multiversal Harleys. And at this point in time, that's gone. It's a new age for Harley Quinn. It's a dawn of DC, and I'm pining for Stephanie Phillips to come back for some reason already.
Why does this happen to us all the time? We sit there and we're always like, oh man, this has to end, or this, and then we get something worse. It always happens. It really does.
I like the art in this book a lot too, and I'll even take Riley Rossmo back with Stephanie Phillips for what we had previously because it still felt like it was better.
Well, and actually, we talked about it by the part, and really it was Fear State.
Derailed everything, yeah.
We ended up really liking the Harley book with Stephanie Phillips, and at that point, lo and behold, we kept saying, you know what? I'm getting used to Riley Rossmo's art on this book.
Because we enjoyed the Harley-Kevin dynamic.
Yeah, and it was really, really good. And so it lost its way. You ended up having Fear State, we said, and it just kind of meandered a bit. You were doing, and then you get that multiversal nonsense.
Catwoman and Harley for no reason.
Yeah. When you start out this new series, this Dawn of DC, I think that editorial, whether they were involved or not, they should say, listen, no multiverse shit in this. We just got done that. Let's do something fresh. Let's do something new. And really, my whole play here is I don't know that Teenie Howard has ever read anything with Harley and has just seen the cartoon. That's all it felt like to me. And not even that, like she saw a half an episode, because there's a lot of cursing. There's a lot of nonsense that's just...
Like, what is the continuity right now? Because in a dawn of DC, I want to think that everybody's got their ducks in a row. All the creators know what's going on because we have a new era of DC Comics we have come to represent. And when I jump into this Harley, there's Two-Face just doing bank jobs and freaking, feuding with Harley. We have the idea that Ivy has been living with Harley in their apartment. She just happens to be on a little road trip right now, which is separate from her doing her own thing in her own book with Janet from HR. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, I think that they said, hey, what's Ivy doing right now? Oh, she's on some road trip. Okay, I'll put that road trip. Like, it didn't feel like anything was in the know, and that shit was just thrown on the page. But I'll give you the credit, so we'll just get right into this. But
Dawn of DC.
As an aside, we have a hell of a section here. Oh,
yes, we do.
Hell of a ride,
the clown
Eric.
section. And the weirdest part about it is, I just want to call it the entire thing the clown section, because Harley Quinn, Punchline, and sadly, my favorite Robin of all time, and one of my favorite characters of DC Comics of all time, Tim Drake. While the thing is, the book looks great, there's some great character moments in that issue. Tim Drake in his own book is a goddamn clown. It's just done. He's a clown, man. I'm not down with that clown.
I don't even know what goes on in that book when we get to that, but this is Harley Quinn number 28, written by Teenie Howard, art by Sweeney Boo. What up, Boo? Colors by
What's up, Sweeney?
Sweeney Boo and Steve Wands. So Sweeney Boo does all of the art, and you have the letters by Steve Wands, which is impressive, and I do like the art a lot in this. It is a step up from, say, Riley Rossmo, but like you said, the overall package is this play where Teenie Howard comes in, and I'm telling you, she must have went wacky, and then they said, no, turn it up to 50. Like, everything's just getting thrown at you. There's not any way to sit down and gather your breath or see what's going on. And so with that, every scene just feels like it just comes and goes like nonsense. It really doesn't have anything going on. And one of the things is you start out, there's a feud between Two-Face and Harley that obviously happened off panel between the last issue of Stephanie Phillips and now. You have to do something that makes sense from what we are leaving then. If you have something off panel to start this off, then it really feels like, okay, well, how did you get from point A to point B? You got to start this. If you're going to do your own thing, you have to start and explain everything that you're going forward with. And we just jump in and she's prank warring
Two-Face.
Two-Face, and they're cursing at each other.
We got fisticuffs going on at a carnival. She steals his shoe, makes him lose his mind like, he's a vampire. He has to count anything that's thrown on the ground. But he lost his shoe. They need to be a pair. He's going to lose his mind. She took it, and now she's back with groceries and is talking about how it's Harley and Ivy's place that they have now. I'm like, is this the barge? Is this that whole idea?
No, it doesn't look like it, right?
We've just moved on. We got Bud and Lou, and we're just talking about the idea of where we are. Ivy's not around right now. Harley needs to keep, she has to figure out what she has to do with herself since Ivy isn't around to keep her occupied, but she hasn't been in this book for the longest time, ever since, Ivy lost her powers and went on a suicide mission in her own book. We know the idea from that book that she's going to make her way back to Gotham. Harley even showed up in her Poison Ivy's book and said, hey, baby, I love you. You do what you need to do, but I got to get back to Gotham. And Ivy thought about it. You know what? I love Harley. I'm going to go back to Gotham. And Jennifer HR and her had a big old orgy, and then eventually we're going to get back to Gotham, hopefully. But for where we are now, I'm just thankful that Kevin's in this book because that's at least a little bit of continuity. I have no idea who this Kevin is.
I don't think he plays out. No, it's weird. It's weird. Now, I'll tell you the thing. There are times when you have to hit continuity tough, right? Real tight. There are other times that you have to.
Gotcha.
There are other times. No, what I'm saying is if you hit this continuity hard, I mean, I'm telling you, you're hitting it hard, Eric. The idea that Ivy, we're going to get that in the Poison Ivy book. They already said we're going to get that. I don't need to double dip here. I know that you want to have some Ivy, but it feels like Teenie Howard's setting it up that, okay, Ivy's going to come in here and like the cartoon whatnot, be a permanent fixture, but we're already going to get that in the Poison Ivy book that's already been set up.
All of a sudden, DC Comics says, you know what's really hitting with the kids? Pokemon. They released 2 games, the same thing at the same time. We're going to put out Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, and it's going to be the same issue, just from different perspectives.
That works for that
Gimmick.
If it's blue and red, but it doesn't work with comics that you end up having
green and pink.
A Harley book that was already, having problems. That's not the solution. It really, to me, isn't. You're doubling up, and the Poison Ivy book is selling better. People are going to be getting that. You're already going to have that. So setting that up, I think, is nonsense, especially in a solo series. You don't need to do that, but they do. And, you have Bud and Lou. You have what looks like the outline of a Wikipedia glance. You have the characters, but like you said with Kevin, does not feel right. Doesn't feel
Kevin
right
has
at all.
evolved to a point where he doesn't even feel like he cares about what's going on with Harley. They're chummy. Yes, they're going to go get brunch together. But she's ignoring Kevin completely because it almost seems like he's out of her purview for what's been going on behind the scenes that we didn't get to see in between last issue and this issue with Harley and Ivy. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to learn to cook on YouTube. I'm going to do some community college. And it's so weird, too, because Kevin's talking about going to community college. And obviously, but for some reason in this book, Harley gets arrested and she's sentenced to teach at a community college because it's the Mighty Ducks all of a sudden. When you get arrested, you have to go and teach kids, what you do. And that's all I could think about.
That only goes for drunk driving.
Oh, okay.
And if your last name's Bombay.
Gordon Bombay!
Dr. Bombay, Gordon Bombay, you're good. You're good there. But yeah, some people, and you don't really see how this is going on because Harley does yell, hey, Kevin, you're with the police. You, Benedict Arnold, you ex-Benedict Arnold.
No. What was that? What happened there?
Here's the thing. Some people were saying, and I did look at some reviews, some high, some low. Most of the people are saying that Kevin called the police on her. But I didn't see that.
But did Kevin call the police? Because, look, I like the art in this book. I can't say that Sweeney Boo has a great progression because I actually found myself going back different pages to see what's going on because it has a very pop art style with the coloring and it focuses real tight on things, but in small little panels to let you know. So I'm not a fan either, but this progression threw me off because I had to go back where the phone's buzzing here. It's almost like Harley got an alert that, oh my God, Two-Face is also in the restaurant that we are in having brunch right now. Kevin, I got to excuse myself. I got to go to the bathroom. We're going to get a lot of that tonight because we have supervillains in a restaurant and they have to excuse themselves. So the idea out of nowhere, Harley and Kevin are just bullshit and having brunch together. Harley excuses herself, tells Kevin to go eat his French toast sticks. He continues on and all of a sudden we have a standoff at the restaurant where Harley Quinn and Two-Face are just there. The entire place is destroyed and Two-Face gets away and Harley's arrested for some reason. Throughout this book, no matter what, and I have no idea how it's working out because we don't want to do anything with Two-Face. We have to get the story that Teenie Howard wants to do here, where Harley gets arrested and is sentenced to community service of teaching at a Gotham community college. But Two-Face, he just gets away, and they arrest Harley Quinn for whatever this is, a standoff at this restaurant, and she yells at Kevin, and I have no idea why, because the place is wrecked. Two-Face has a goddamn Tommy gun, and why is Harley Quinn arrested, and why is Kevin freaking, a Benedict Arnold in this situation?
They both have
I didn't
guns, and it's like, she's like, why would you arrest me? It's just pranks. Well, no, you have guns. Also, just the dialogue from Kevin. If you have been reading the series, it's off. It's too, I don't know, it's too smart almost. And then you don't get that lovable Kevin who really, in my mind, tries, like, I think that
Kevin
what
feels
happened
like he's done.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Teenie Howard, I think, gets the idea where she looked at one panel of Kevin, and Kevin was like, you can't do that, Harley, and thinks that Kevin doesn't really like Harley and is like, oh, man, I've had enough of you. That wasn't Kevin. Kevin would always support Harley 100%. He'd get frustrated, but he would always be with Harley. And now all of a sudden,
but after all this, maybe Kevin should cut the cord.
Well, he should. But again, if that's the case, something happened. Like you said, this prank, it happened off panel. So you get to this. Not to mention, I said already about Ivy in the book, and then we have the multiverse coming up, but Harley was arrested as well. It's almost like a repeat of some of the greatest
I thought
hits.
this book was all of a sudden going to become the Catwoman book where she was sent to freaking Blackgate or something along those lines. Because at one point when she gets arrested and taken before the judge and has to go through all this nonsense, it takes a long while just to get to the idea, well, you know what? You are a doctor and you could be good to society. You know what? I reckon that Kevin was talking about community college. By God, that's the ticket. I'm going to sentence you to be a professor at community college because since you are a doctor, Dr. Quinzel, you're going to teach psychology over there to those freaking kids. And I'm like, it is such, everything about this book feels so forced and over the top. And we haven't even gotten to the forced and over the top things that the book is going to do out of nowhere.
And a lot of people would end up saying like, oh, guys, Harley's always crazy and Harley's always over the top. That's true. But in my mind, where it plays out best, you have to have a little smidgen of reality in there to make Harley the crazy. Yeah, you need the ground. And that was Kevin. And he's not here. He's not the character that we knew.
And the worst part is, the motherfucker's not even in community college with Harley.
I know he's not. Like, you expected him to be in class. Like, man, I hear they have a new teacher. And then she walks in. He's like, oh, boy. Like, something like that. You didn't even get that.
On his desk or something?
Yeah,
I don't know.
You didn't even get, like, and then she's going through the roll call and gets Kevin something and then have the joke that she never knew his last name. Like, something like that. It'd be hilarious. It'd be so good. There we go, Eric. We're right in the issue for
Mr. Big Fat Cock.
Yeah, really, exactly. Oh, who's playing games? No, that's me. That'd be funny. So you end up where you have this, and you said it already. You go through a lot of just dialogue with the judge, going down. You're just sending her off to community college. That was already mentioned by Kevin. So why are we taking so long? But that's how every scene is.
And through all of this, I'm telling you, you have the big fight with Two-Face at the carnival. Harley talks about Ivy and groceries and getting green and going down on
There's
chicks.
always food, I was told, Eric.
You have stuff going on. Kevin, she gets arrested. She goes before the judge. We get to community college. I thought all of that nonsense, we're finally get to the point of the story. She's a professor at community college. And we had to jump through a shit ton of hoops to get here, but we finally got to the idea where these kids, is she going to teach them or are they going to teach her? I thought
next thing she's learning how to dance like that.
Exactly. I thought it was going to be something. I thought it was going to be something along those lines. But then Two-Face just drives a car through the classroom. And we have a goddamn fight again. A magic cartoon fish comes out of nowhere. She slaps him with it. And then we're just told by the guys, nope, his lawyers is too good. We can't get nothing on him. He drove a goddamn car through the college.
And almost killed kids. Also, like, I mean, here's the idea.
Can't do nothing about it.
Let's go back to the judge.
Why are we doing this?
The judge is like, I sent you to teach kids at the community college. I'm a homicidal maniac. And she goes, but okay, I can deal with that. But again, what ends up with this, I said, it feels more like the cartoon than something that is supposed to be a Dawn of DC in a continuity, in a universe that's going on. Because in this, you just keep thinking of like, what the hell is going on?
And who is this Two-Face? Did he just overcome the orgums?
Yeah, he did 2 orgums on my tulips. You end up where, like, what is going, like, nothing works here. And the jokes, if there are any, I didn't see them, Eric. I'm telling you, I'm going through, I'm like, is this supposed to be funny? Because first off, it's too long-winded to really be any bit funny. It's like, this podcast. But when they're doing it, you don't recognize any of the characters. And there's so many easy things. Every page, I'm like, why didn't you do this? You even said it. You have that whole thing. Coolio is singing in the background. You have her turning the chair around, right? Like that.
She's going to talk to the kids for real.
Even if you had her, like, because I do like Harley when she has some pop culture references and stuff and jokes.
Sure.
If she came into this thinking, that's all college. Oh, I know how this works. She goes in thinking she's going to turn the chair around and the kids are going to learn. She's going to learn to dance.
Keys.
And then her just sitting there and they're like, what are you doing? We have to teach. She's like, really? Like we actually have class? Like something like that. Or
Bueller.
Yeah, what you do is set up this one character who has that, again, a long-winded question. And then at the end, after Two-Face drives a car into the college, right? And if you're even going to make a joke of like, man, he contributes a lot of money each year, like that whole play that you always get.
Nope, legal team's too good.
Yeah,
Can't do
legal
nothing about
team's
it.
too good. Two-Face. So you end up where you have her, and you said it.
Summer Sheridan.
We have to
top
really
student.
push this out, though. The idea that she's fighting Two-Face and she's going to lose, and she goes, oh, I need something, and then pulls out a glowing fish. And
A
hits him with
glowing
it.
magic cartoon fish. But the problem is, this fish is very pop art as well. It's very cartoony. It stands out. It's very bright and shiny, and it looks... Well, I'm telling you, I want to say it looks offset to what we have, but things in this are very cartoony to begin with, but it is more offset, so you get the idea this doesn't belong here. Until later on, when she thinks this is all hallucination, Summer Sheridan, her top student so far, is like, hey, you might want to take care of that thing before it stinks.
Yeah, that ruined the joke to me.
She takes the thing back to her apartment, though, and all of a sudden it looks like, one of those close-ups on a Ren and Stimpy cartoon, so all of a sudden it's no longer this magic cartoony thing. It actually looks like a legitimate dead fish, like a gigantic dead fish, but legitimately there. Then all of a sudden it gets up and like smiles at her like it becomes a cartoon again. I don't understand the progression of the art style with what we're trying to say about this stupid goddamn fish.
Yeah, and I'm looking now just to see one thing. You can barely see. Yeah, it is. I was hoping that it looked really like a rotting fish in the class, but it's kind of an in-betweener there in that. But even that, when she hits him with it, I think it might have been kind of funny if nobody saw it, that it was just her in her mind. She made it up. But you end up, it goes even one step further because, the student sees it. Oh, man, you can see it too. She takes it home. It's just sitting around. Bud and Lou don't even want any parts of it. And then all of a sudden, boom, Lady Quark comes out of what looks like a multiverse going to hell portal and ends up yelling about this fish.
You are a multiversal criminal, an enemy of the royal family of Earth-48 in a potential crisis. You will call me your majesty. So the idea is Lady Quark has showed up because apparently now that the multiverse has been redone up Infinite style, Lady Quark and Earth-42 are all back and they decided, fuck all this noise about us getting destroyed like we did back in Infinite Earths and Convergence again. But now we know the Justice League Incarnate's out there, but we're policing this shit.
Yeah,
you know what?
That's
You
what
are
I
a
thought
threat
of, too.
because we were hanging out on the cartoon Earth. I don't know what it is off the top of my head because I have no idea what the new Earths are designated after Dark Crisis and the Infinite Earths coming back. Used to be Earth C back when I was a kid, but who knows anymore? But when you have it seems like they were been hanging out with them. And one of the people there had a magic fish they needed, and Harley stole that somehow with her pure imagination in our world, and now she's a threat because we're opening bridges to the multiverse. Not even opening, tearing bridges.
Now, also, you're doing that play of things have a reason, things are set in motion for a reason, and you ended up taking that fish. So the big hero who was supposed to use it went to get it, it was gone. He lost the battle, he was supposed to win, now all hell is breaking loose. I'm like, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. Shut up, Lady Quark. Get the hell out of here. When I saw Lady Quark there, I'm like,
Quark and
Eric's gonna
Electropolis.
hate
I'm like,
this.
I don't need this at all. Especially because the last arc, we just got done with multiversal Harleys, and now here's the dawn of DC. Back to it, but Lady Quark instead. Fuck me. At least it's not dark multiverse.
Teeny Howard can't write an issue. This is awful. But where's the editorial to say to her, don't do multiversal stuff. We just did that. Do something else. Hey, center on this. And even if she doesn't want to continue with Kevin, that's fine, but do it in a better way. Have Kevin just go off, because I think it might be the idea of like, oh, that Kevin, that asshole, he turned me in, the hell with him, and now he's gone. I don't know, but that's a hell of a way to get rid of one of the better characters. that was in this book through that whole Stephanie Phillips deal. Whether people, I don't even know if people ever agreed with us, but me and you love the character. We really love Kevin, right?
I hated him at first. He grew on me something fierce to the point where he was the best thing about the series.
He definitely was. So you end up going and you continue on where it ends with Lady Quark. Now we have a backup. If this wasn't bad enough,
oh my God,
that you end up having a shit ass start to a book, you have a backup that's going to raise the price. What are they thinking?
And
what
not
are
only
they
that,
thinking?
but a backup done in an anime nightmare dream style that means nothing to any story whatsoever. It's just an extra story that is out of continuity where Harley Quinzel, doctor at Arkham Asylum, she's got Sailor Moon powers and teams up with Ivy and Catwoman to make a mecha to fight some monster that was put on Earth by the evil Bruce Wayne. Hooray. Crotch face.
I would bet anybody
Lovely
or dare
angel
them
Harley Quinn
to repeat what you just said because it's such nonsense. But usually I do like Erica Henderson, I just want to say, but this is just nonsense. It's complete and utter nonsense.
I don't know Erica Henderson. I just don't know why this is here.
Yeah, well, I do. Where's insert cash register sound? It's to get
we
this book.
Have, huh?
Somehow they think that this book is going to be such a big seller that you have to add. No, you bet. Here's the thing with this Dawn of DC Harley.
You killed the book.
You should have went opposite. It should have been hold the line at $2.99 even just to get people involved because you end up. It hasn't been selling. Teenie Howard, it's not really the, name they might think she is over here at DC because a lot of these books that she's doing are really getting ripped apart. Catwoman fans losing their mind at that. Punchline, it's fine. We're going to be doing that next, but it's not selling.
Maybe Blake Howard is doing something in that book because the thing is, Teenie Howard, I've been looking forward to it because I think Punchline, the Gotham game, is a pretty good book. I think that she's doing really good stuff with Punchline to try to evolve the character from what we have with the Joker War. But we have Blake Howard also co-writing with that one, and that book feels different than anything else we have going on with Teenie Howard right now.
So we'll be getting to that in a second. One of the things that I remember that Erica Henderson did was the Squirrel Girl book that I liked the art in. So yeah, I like her art though. It's crazy and it's cartoony, but I think it's kind of cool at points. Didn't work here, especially because, again, you said it earlier, I really had a problem with the close-up camera angles and things like that, the way that everything's like right. I didn't really get the scope of the story. Well, there was no story anyway.
The progression was
Didn't matter. Yeah.
Still better than Tim Drake's, though.
Wait till we get to that Tim Drake. This is just the beginning.
But that had better aspects to some things here. I'm telling you, Harley Quinn is a mess for me now.
Harley Quinn is like a complete mess, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, but Tim Drake, Robin, it's like the worst and some of the best that book has ever had and I've ever read. I'm telling you, it has some of the worst writing that I've ever read since we started this podcast in that book.
All right.
But I do like some of the
story,
stuff.
Best character moments. For
the
series.
I'll go with that. For the series. That's what I meant overall when I said best moments or best deal.
Yeah.
I'll go with you. But it is legitimately, when we get to it, this is like a preview, Eric. When we get to that book, one of the worst stories ever written. I'm telling you, I sat there and I talked to you about it. I couldn't even think of what was possibly happening, but we're still doing Harley. What would you give this book, Eric?
I'm going to give this a 4 out of 10.
Okay. You can give it the fuck you 5 if you want.
I don't want to give it the fuck you 5.
I have my finger on the trigger, Eric.
It's the dawn of DC. A fuck you 5 seems like it's just like a thing to throw out there for something that's been around and sucked constantly and doesn't matter. It's just dawn of DC, the first issue of a new era of Harley Quinn. And I just want everybody to know this is a 4 out of 10, and that's mostly for art. Art I enjoy looking at that I don't think progresses the story very well the way it's done here. Everything that was good about Harley that we had previously is worse than we had previously. It's doing all this wacky shit to jump through hoops to get us to a new status quo that doesn't work for the character. And it's doing more multiversal bullshit. And for some reason says, you know what we need in this book? Lady Quark and Electropolis. And I say, nay, sir. Nay.
If I'm going to argue with you there, if I'm going to have an argument with you, which I wouldn't, but I don't even know what the status quo is. Like you said, I'm like, at the end, I'm like, the fuck is this book? What are we doing? Like it's
community college.
It's all over the place. I guess that's the deal. But we have multiverse going on.
Maybe Harley has the power of imagination to break the goddamn fourth wall of the multiverse and steal shit. Because now we're just going to get the idea of like craziness equals Deadpool breaking fourth wall. But we're not breaking the fourth wall. We're breaking the multiverse.
But yet she just was in the multiverse fighting things from the multiverse. But never.
I don't know.
I don't get it. I don't get it, but we're going to move on to the next book, which you already previewed yourself as well, because Blake shows up, right? Oh, Blake.
Yeah, Blake Howard. But we have the finale to Punchline, the Gotham game. Number 6, written by Tini Howard and Blake Howard, with art by Gleb Melnikoff, Max Rayner, Luis Guerrero, and Becca Carey. And in this, we previously saw how Punchline had been shot by Black Mask. She was thought dead by everybody, continued to be thought dead here. But you know who found her ass sitting in a dumpster? It was the faux Joker from The Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing. And I thought to myself, holy shit, this faux Joker, this might be the thing. This might be the thing to turn everything around. Not only for this book, because I have been enjoying the book, but a new era of Punchline. What does this mean, this faux Joker to this Punchline? Because it's not, as far as we know, it's not the real Joker. It's not the one that trained Punchline, who Punchline fell in love with, who devoted herself to. What is this going to mean for not this book, but also The Man Who Stopped Laughing? Well, the faux Joker patches Punchline up, and she's all like, oh, you're not the same guy I knew. I know, it's crazy, right? Well, I'm going to go kill Black Mask. I don't think you should. Well, I'm going to. Ta-ta.
And the idea of this, when she's like, hey, wait a second. You're not the same guy. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And I laugh.
I'm waiting.
I thought to myself, holy shit, we're going to get more information in this book than Matthew Rosenberg has given us in 7 issues of that bullshit book of his. And I'm like, and then it almost played off to like, I know, I have a different haircut. Like, you almost get to the point where I thought there was going to be information. They pull it back to be nothing. And then she leaves and it's ambiguous. And I'm like, what the hell? It annoyed me.
It might not be for everybody, but at least in this section here, where I thought could be the game changer to The Man Who Stopped Laughing and the Punchline series moving forward, because obviously it's the ending, but it's not the ending for the character. So when I say series, whatever continues on with the Punchline story from here, I thought this was going to be it. But at least I could take away, man, I love seeing Punchline and just her bra and her fucking torn up pants. She was so hot.
I know that a lot of people who, I guess they seem to be Punchline fans, like, they're already at the point with Punchline, it seems like a Harley, it took forever of the, why did we go back to the Joker and why was he even in this book? Because you kind of separated it a bit and you're developing her own character, but it was okay. And I really thought that we were going to get info for The Man Who Stopped Laughing. But my big problem with this, and I've said it, you like this book more than me. You have since the beginning of the series. You even with the backups as well, which kind of got wonky and things like that. When we got into this, I wanted one thing. I wanted to like Punchline and I wanted to know more about her character. We didn't really get that in this. It was a lot of just running around, doing weird things, and then it's tying into Catwoman, which she's going to continue. And hopefully, it'd be funny. It's like, man, I hope that she gets more work. It's Tini Howard again. And not even with Blake. Blake's not even in that one. So,
I like the way the story is told. I like the way the characters work in this. I like the way the dialogue is in this. And when I say this, I mean this series. Now, if we're going to take this series and end it, move everything we have going on here over to the Catwoman series, which is a goddamn mess, how is that going to work? Like, is it going to just become a bigger mess adding that Punchline? Because
probably.
Is Blake Howard the only thing I'm enjoying out of this? Because I've been reading Catwoman, and I wanted to enjoy the concept, but it went nowhere until just honestly just dive bombed into nonsense.
I mean, you would hope that Blake might be looking at some stuff later. He can say, well, don't do that or do this. I mean, they're there together. They could do that. But you end up where I thought, in my mind, I said it last review of the last issue on the podcast, that I think that you ended up having both of the Howards ended up getting a little bit off the rails with the whole, the Royal Flush Gang. I think that we were concentrating too much on them. I don't really care about Bluff. I mean, seriously,
good, he's dead now.
I know, I like Bluebird, but even that, I just wanted more punch.
What about One-Eyed Jack?
No, One-Eyed Jack just shows up. I'm like, what the
No, he's been here the whole time. He's just been called One-Eyed Jack. And you know what? I like it.
And then we end up hitting the...
I don't need Navy SEAL. I need One-Eyed Jack.
But we end up there on the internet, and we're doing social media, and I'm like, what are we doing?
And at least that is going back to what we had previously.
Yeah, but it's not using
podcast,
Punchline, though.
All of this stuff. No, I'm saying it is using Punchline, but Navy SEAL is now the way to get it through. And the thing is, it doesn't even need to be Punchline anymore. We're doing all this through Navy SEAL, and the idea that Punchline is there, bringing everybody who loves Punchline during her trial and stuff like that together.
I feel like at this point, we're so removed from that.
Drug addict, freaking like riddled people who, oh my God, Punchline and freaking Navy SEALs over here. boy, I hope they got drugs, because I am jonesing.
That's what I'm saying. We're so removed in my mind from that trial. We haven't really had a lot of mention of it. You're just going through the motions with the Royal Flush Gang now. Once you mention drugs, I'm like, yeah, they're just into drugs. I'm like, she's like, oh man, oh my father, no, they're just
Phase 2.
And when you see it, just zombies going, they got them bath salts and shit going on with that exo. And even that was never really fully developed. I thought that most of the big points in this were never really developed. And then we get to the end where, oh, I see why, because you're just going to shove this off to Catwoman. So you never really had any sort of deal. Which is the biggest
disappointment for me here, because you have a 6-issue mini Punchline, the Gotham game. What I want is a full story. What we have is a prologue to the continuation of the story in Catwoman with Punchline's Phase 2. That is a huge disappointment. But even little things along the line where, like, okay, everybody thinks that Punchline is dead. It's time to reform the Royal Flush Gang without some weird-ass fucking wild card ruining the mix-up here. And, like, when Bluff is talking about becoming the new king, which is weird because we have King right there. I'm going to be the leader. It needs a new leader. I'm like, well, King's already here. I don't know what you're going to be, Bluff. But he's talking about Punchline came in. She had us selling drugs, like common freaking drug dealers. And then we did this. And then she blew up our main source of income. I'm like, you mean the place that we're selling drugs to deal with that you were just bitching about?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, we got in the Yakuza. And I'm like, everything goes back to the drugs. And then when you end up having, I mean, look at those people. They are hurting. They are hurting with that XO.
Jonesing.
It's just like, I don't know. I wanted to see more personal, like you said about the Tim Drake debacle we're going through. You did have some good character moments in that, though. I never really thought we got any character moments with Punchline. It was really just, I'm going to do this, and you better listen. I'm going to kill that guy. And it never felt right. Like, it never, not that it didn't feel right. It didn't feel full. It felt empty to me.
Punchline was taken down in the previous issue, which made it seem like her whole idea of taking on the Yakuza, the Gentleman's Club, all this to really prove her, like, make a name for herself as Punchline, as like opposed to the Joker's girlfriend, Punchline. She was coming out here in full force with her XO, getting people hooked up. She has the Royal Flush Gang at her disposal. She was taken down last issue. Everybody thinks she's dead. The Royal Flush Gang are moving on, saying, fuck that Punchline, she's dead now. And it kind of does spiral to a degree where Bluff's like, all right, guys, I'm going to be your new, leader of the Royal Flush Gang. Everybody cool with that? Cool. All right. First thing on the list, I know all of our, Royal Flush Gang members were just murdered terribly by Black Mask and the Gentleman's Club. I think they have that hostage you guys don't really care about. And, Cullen Rowe, who may or not be my ex-boyfriend, who I might still care about. I'm not going to tell you that part, though. How about you guys and me? We go to Black Mask and tell him to give us back the hostage, even though he doesn't have me because, Nightwing and Bluebird released him in the previous issue. So when Punchline shows back up at the yacht where the Gentleman's Club are there with the new Royal Flush Gang with King, Queen, and Bluff and Aces, it just becomes this weird situation because, hey, I want you to give that hostage. Hey, boy, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Hey, there's Punchline. All right, I'm going to kill everybody. Phase 2. It's just, I want it to be this great thing, but it feels like a weird intermission to what we were currently doing. And I don't know why we had to take that pause to really do anything here because, yes, if you wanted to introduce the idea of the faux Joker and show us some real depth and background in the Punchline and what it means to be her now without the Joker, because this is a different kind of Joker, it seems like she doesn't even get the idea that he's really not the real Joker here.
And I wish that was the play.
You don't have this great connection. She just does run off, and the Joker's like, pretty much patched her up. Oh, maybe she has a new appreciation for the Joker because, he kept her alive for 52 hours while she was comatose. But this pause didn't do what I needed it to do by introducing the Joker back into this book, a faux Joker or not. And we just get back to basics like, all right, time to go back after Black Mask.
It just felt like a weird
like
cameo. Like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, and the funny play is when you were saying about the idea where Punchline does want to, hey, everybody, look at me. I want you to see that I belong with you guys, you heavy hitters like the Black Mask. If you go with continuity, she was in the Legion of Doom. So she should just throw that out.
Yeah, that was like for a hot minute,
and
though.
Say, listen, I was part of the Legion of Doom, assholes.
And was she? Maybe she just showed up for orientation day and they didn't pick teams yet.
I remember when we saw that picture, she was right next to Lex. I mean, I'm telling you, she was like the right-hand gal right there.
Well, wasn't that like the first issue of The Man Who Stopped Laughing? Was that what that was? Because she even brings it up here.
But I can look when we're in between here. But in the end, the whole deal with me was just, I didn't get anything from this to say, oh my God, whether I liked Punchline going in, whether I didn't, or I'm just in between. But this whole series and this issue did not elevate that at all. I'm still the same. I don't hate her because of this series, but I don't like her anymore. And then when you see at the end, is it going to be in Catwoman? Well, me and you are reading and reviewing Catwoman, so obviously we'll have that. But like you said, that book's a firebomb mess. And then you get this into that. And I'm telling you, that seems like a really bad combination to go over there because now you're all over I just don't get it. I don't get why we had
the big
this
play now that Punchline is back. She has, Queen kill Bluff because he tried to usurp her throne of the head of the Royal Flush Gang. She has taken back control of the Royal Flush Gang. Essentially, we don't have a lot of members left because everybody was killed by Black Mask in the previous issue. We got some people still in prison now. It doesn't mean anything to the Catwoman book because that's his county. So who cares about that? But Punchline is back, Royal Flush Gang and all. And we find out that her big plan when she blew up the Alleytown warehouse that was, belonged to the Yakuza that she was making the XO out of. We kept wondering, why would Punchline blow up her own place? And I thought, hey, maybe because she's an agent of chaos. She's just a wild card. She wants to see how things play out. And she does, even if it costs her money. Now we see that phase 2 is actually the idea she blew it up so that the chemicals would be released all throughout Alleytown and everybody in the vicinity of this ace chemical would become addicted to the XO. So when a Navy SEAL now, when I check, gets on the old TikTok there or the fucking YouTube live or whatever kids do these days, he's calling everybody down. Come on over here. And now all of a sudden with the idea of the XO, Punchline has an army at her disposal. Not the Royal Flush Gang, just people who want drugs and that she can provide for them. I don't know how far it's going to go because by the end of this, they kind of just steal giant crates worth of XO. They're probably all going to be dead by the end of this by overdosing. But it seems that Punchline by the end of this has proven herself, even though you didn't need to be back where she was 2 issues ago as the big bad to move into the Catwoman book.
And you were right. It wasn't the Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing. It was in the 3rd issue.
Okay.
It was about a half a year ago, about 6 months ago. So for some reason, I was thinking even longer back, but yeah, it was in the Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing number 3. But like you said, this issue ends up being pretty much the junkie supermarket sweep at one point. And I'm like, what the fuck happened in this?
Wasn't that just supermarket sweep, though, really?
Exactly. And
it's
so
the 80s. Everybody was on cocaine. I just
kept thinking, really, that's what we're going to go with? And even if we would have stayed with that whole, hey, Punchline, yeah, she's the internet darling, and this shouldn't be, and these kids, but we kind of got away from that to get back to that, and then we go off and really has just made a shit pot of Alleytown, which already wasn't that great.
And the weirdest part, too, because it is a shit pot, but we got people who are all addicted to XO. It's a big problem, but we have Punchline telling the world through Navy SEAL / One-Eye Jacks, online stream that she had done this whole thing. She blew up Ace Chemical to get everybody addicted because at this point in time, she's not only fighting the Gentleman's Club and Black Mask, but Batman and Bluebird both show up as well. And they're taking on, it actually becomes a pretty badass fight in my mind where Alexis K, Punchline, is proving herself, but she's given up the ghost because we have Ventura Fremont, who's the assistant district attorney, who wants to get Selena Kyle free because she knows the Punchline did this whole thing. She's calling Selena Kyle up in prison. I don't know, for some reason, because she actually seems like she's calling up Selena Kyle's cell phone. I don't know how she's doing that in prison, but
she had the burner phone, and she knows that, changed her contact information, and
and has her face as a photo for it. But we also see that the Gentleman's Club, maybe just Black Mask, but I want to assume the majority of the Gentleman's Club, including, and I say majority, maybe it's just Tiger Shark and Black Mask, do get arrested by the end of this, so they're off the table right now for Catwoman going forward. Punchline beat the Gentleman's Club.
You, I'm just assuming that we're going to get Two-Face and the Harley. Boy, they have the crazy lawyers, and they'll just
shut
be
your
out
mouth.
Anyway. They'll
Stop
just be
it.
out. When we had Ventura Fremont at the end, I'm like, really? Here we go. And then she's calling. I'm just surprised it doesn't Selena Kyle, but it's Catwoman's picture. Oh, my goodness gracious. And so all of this, and then Punchline in the book, and then this summer, it is leading to a Batman Catwoman crossover event. That's going to be a big thing in there. So I wonder how that's going to play out. If it's going to be something with Punchline then. Is it going to be, that, or is Selena going to turn bad because she's breaking out of jails? She's going to be eating the ramen. A lot of mention of ramen again this week, but it's just nonsense. But the art's good. And again,
I love the art.
I wanted to like Punchline more, but this didn't make me hate her anymore. So I'm kind of still in the middle.
Well, you're pretty much back to where you started. And I don't even say where we started because we're pretty much where we end up where we thought we were 2 issues ago before she was shot, nursed back to health by the faux Joker, and This is how Punchline got her groove back 52 hours later.
Yeah, exactly. 52 hours. But what would you give it?
Thing is, I don't mind this issue. I think the biggest problem it is it's not a finale at all. It just pretty much, it just ends to go into something else where the whole concept of what we're doing, yes, it's a phase 2. We find out that she wanted to get everybody addicted to the XO by blowing this up, but that's not much of a story overall for everything they were setting up with the Gentleman's Club, the Royal Flush Gang, and even bringing Batman in for the big surprise for our finale here. Doesn't do much overall, but I like the book. I like the story. I just don't think it's a complete story, and that's the biggest problem. Give it a 7 out of 10, though. I like this book.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 5.5. It's just, I'm the same. I think that's what I gave the last issue, and it just ended up not giving me much. There was not a lot of character moments. You could have had a real good thing with the faux Joker and all that.
Would have made it the half the book.
You skimmed over that, and that was even a way, even if you weren't going to reveal the faux Joker or whatnot, you could have had a little more character moments with Punchline. Maybe
have Punchline open up to this guy who she thinks it is and show some insight to it, because she says she fell in love with the Joker, and everybody made fun of her because the Joker's just going to ditch you. And I never thought it would happen, because the one thing the Joker isn't is predictable. She kicks him in the face, but this isn't anything that felt new with what she's talking about.
And the thing that went on is I thought we were going to get like, wait a second, like, I don't recognize you. But instead she's like, yeah, you're lame. I'm going to be bigger than you. And then goes off. It just didn't play out well with me. So I'm a 5.5. But we'll move on to the last book of the night, Eric. The last book, and boy, it's doozy. It's a doozy.
The last clown of the night.
What is it, Eric?
Tim Drake, Robin, number 7, written by Megan Fitzmartin, with art by Serge Acuna, Lee Lowridge, and Tom Napolitano. And now that we're done the big 6-issue Moriarty arc that started this series out, now it's time for a little cool-down issue. A little Bernard Tim time, because the two of them are going to go out for a night on the town and go to a fancy restaurant that Bruce Wayne has gotten them reservations for, because Bernard and Tim, they could have done that on their own. And all of that sounds amazing. If we could have just had an issue where and this whole issue is pretty much narrated through the thoughts and how of Bernard and how he feels about Tim and how Tim makes him feel ultimately, and the idea of the relationship together. And by the end, the idea that Bernard does know that Tim is Robin, but is going to keep his secret until Tim feels he's comfortable enough.
That.
That's such great moments. It's just too fucking bad that either Megan Fitzmartin or somebody at DC Editorial said, yeah, this is all good and all, but you got to throw in a shitty story because we need some action in here that doesn't make any sense. I don't know who to blame, but somebody needs to be fired.
I said to you before, really, before we ended up, well, maybe it's Megan Fitzmartin because the book is canceled. Maybe they just ended up getting the script and like, what the fuck? Because this seems like if you would have had, I said, and some people disagree because they just don't like the fact that Tim is bi. But if you can get by that and you go with the play, having a cool down issue after that nonsense of a bullshit arc that we had with that Moriarty, with just things never being developed and they just happen out of the blue, that continues here. But it would have been nice to have just a date night. And you could have still had the idea with Bernard's parents, all that. You didn't need the other stuff. And me and you both think that possibly editorial said to Megan Fitzmartin, that's fine and dandy, but you have to have Tim doing some Robin stuff. And she does not understand anything about Robin, anything about superhero comic setups, progression, story, anything. It is the biggest bullshit that I've ever read in my life. I already said it. It's fucking terrible.
I like the Tim Drake part of this, but as soon as it becomes Tim Drake Robin, it's the worst part because people hate the idea that Tim Drake became bisexual and that he's dating his old high school friend Bernard. People lost their fucking mind about this when it was announced and has been Megan Fitzmartin's little baby ever since. The problem I have with it, this is the first time that I've actually felt that Bernard and Tim were a couple. I was seeing things that actually, Tony, I was moved by the parts. I felt the freaking drama chills at parts where fucking Bernard, and the thing is, it could have just been that. Everything else made me fucking sick to my stomach for nothing making sense in the progression of Firefly and Phobia teaming up to stick it to the big restaurants.
Yeah.
What the hell is even that?
Oh my God, Eric, when you go into it, and again, this is such a poorly written issue with the action and because it starts off, and I'm telling you, there's a lot to unpack.
But why is this the first time I'm feeling the actual relationship that DC made a big deal about?
You know why?
So long ago.
Because it's the first time we've had character work. She hasn't done anything. That's a problem, though. Because when we get to this issue, she's also going to have to force shit on you that was never set up before. You have had so many issues to set up things. Finally, when we get to and Bernard has to mention his parents because we're going to meet them for the first time. And it feels so forced.
Out of nowhere.
And first, it starts out, and even when Tim has come back from being Robin, some people are saying, like, how did he get into the boat with Bernard?
Dude, I have no idea how any of this works out.
There's no way. So he's changing.
Bernard and Tim are late, almost going to be late for their dinner reservations, and he has to quickly change out of his Robin gear to get into his suit. Guy's going to stink for one thing.
Oh, my God.
I don't know how he got in to be Robin to change in that because Bernard is already here waiting for him to get changed. The beginning makes no sense.
And so you end up, he's changing. I even had a problem. Like, how did Batman get out of the suit so fast? I'm like, you have been Robin for so long there, really. And so here is Megan Fitzmartin. We're going to talk about the progression and setups. Here is the setup for the entire issue. Hey, do you hear that some restaurants are being attacked by Firefly? That's it. That is it.
All right.
That is it.
Just remember that, boys and girls.
Yeah, that it's so like just thrown out there, right? So, okay,
Did you hear about community college?
Yeah, exactly. So then you go, and I love the art. I thought the art was fantastic in this. It's so good.
Kuna draws the hell out of this goddamn book. The freaking pencils, the inks, the colors, everything that we have on the page here looks great. But I can't say, almost like a Sweeney Boo that we had in Harley Quinn, where I like the way the art looks.
Don't even say progressions.
I can't tell the progression. I can't tell the fucking progression.
It's the script. There is no progressions. I'm telling you.
That's the thing. Is it the script or is it the artist? I don't know because I don't know when things start happening when I'm looking at the actual page and what I'm supposed to take away from certain things.
Well, I know what I'm going to take away is Bernard better watch out.
A few points.
The way Tim looks, I date him right here. I mean, when he comes out dressed up, I'm like, oh yeah. So then out of nowhere, oh man.
There's a lot of guys wearing scarves at this restaurant.
Yeah, there is. Well, it's a fancy restaurant.
Is that what you do a fancy? Because the thing is, I'm not a fancy guy. I got a Red Lobster for a fancy lunch sometimes.
Do you own a scarf? Do you?
I own actually a couple of scarves.
Okay, well, screw you then. I know.
I actually have like a 20-foot long Tom Baker scarf.
I was going to say, I knew it was going to be Tom Baker. I was going to say Tom Baker doesn't count.
Sometimes you need a Doctor Who scarf.
You can't wear that to a fancy restaurant. You wear that to a stupid convention, you nerd. You end up where, okay, the big progression. Hey, it's great that Bruce Wayne got us the tickets. I would have asked my mom and dad, but they don't like me. So right there is the only thing we've ever found out.
Right.
He has rich parents. All right. So we go from there. So then out of nowhere, Tim says one of the stupidest lines I've ever read. Oh, man, they should be proud of their kid majoring in physics and biology. You're going to make a great chef. What the fuck does that mean?
Hit the button.
Like, I'm telling you.
What the hell is even that?
Yeah. Oh, you mean
is that a joke?
You mean the physicist, chef, biologist? Well, like, what is that? The food physicist, chef, biologist? And it's not. I don't.
You're going to want to come to your restaurant. You're going to turn them away. I'm not that kind of person. I know, babe. I know.
I'm like, physics, biology. You'll make a great chef. But the problem is you realize at this point we don't know shit about Bernard. He has been in this
I know that
book.
He used to fucking think that Tim's stepmom was hot as hell.
Yeah, you know what you brought in, but we have really done nothing. He has been the damsel in distress for almost this whole time, and we've never done any character work. So you're throwing it at it, but how are you melding in physicist, biologist, chef? And so just out of nowhere, we get character work, which, again, some of it works, some of it doesn't. And that didn't work, right? No. I mean, it's just bad. But then we go off to the restaurant. And even that, you even said to me and the deal where while this is going on, you also have the narration of Bernard, but you also have these, dinner terms, things like that. Also,
it's all presented like the movie, The Menu, where everything's like, this is the different courses of the meal. And I'm like, look, you're doing a lot right now. For some reason, you decided to have Firefly and Phobia do nonsense shit that doesn't matter to this book at all, especially for what you're doing by the end. We didn't need this part either.
No. And really, when they get to the restaurant, they could be there, and all you need to do is have them eating dinner. The parents come in. The parents are awful. They're doing this, that. You didn't need this thing to go so off the rails that it makes no damn sense. But also, I just want to point out that at the point when they go in, Bernard knows he's going to be the physicist, biology chef, right?
Chef, yeah.
He's almost like the space doctor that Snot was in the American Fear. So you end up where all of this going down. He knows the chef. He's like, not personally, but he's like, man,
he knows
this chef, Will Trench, he's on this show and that show, and he's foraging for these things because I don't even know what he's saying, but you would think he knows the lay of the land. And then later, he says the worst line ever. But while this is going on, and this is the progression, they're talking, ends up where they hear, or at least Bernard especially hears his parents.
Had the pleasure of being invited by the chef himself. Oh, God, my parents are here.
Yeah. So he goes like, nyah, nyah.
Hi, Mom, Dad.
Tim is looking, and he, like, grimaces. Then...
What is going on in the background? This is the progression of the art I'm talking about, because in there you can see, like, some things, like, I don't know if it's just the way the walls are set up, but
you
Tim's
mean the weird deal?
The fucking beatnik guy's looking at something that Tim's looking at. I don't know what the hell is happening.
I think he's
here.
trying to find a clue. That guy is high as shit, right?
But then
that's
Tim
the problem.
Has to excuse himself. What is happening?
Now, here's the thing. Now, we said already, Firefly has been, because what Firefly usually does is light restaurants on fire. But again, that's established that he's already been doing
open grill.
Right? I just want to keep saying that. So when you have this where, first off, the focus is on Bernard and the parents. He's like, oh, hi, Mom, Dad. Tim is actually might be in the same position, maybe turned a little from where Bernard was, because Bernard has to turn around. But it does look like he might be seeing something. And that's all you can go, because then he comes back and, the mom. Oh, is your little friend here?
My boyfriend, Mom.
You know my boyfriend, Tim. And so if, in fact, this is the play where Tim did see Firefly, first off, what the fuck is Firefly doing? What's he getting his outfit on outside at the window? Because he's there. He comes over and he's like, oh, hey, this is down. I'm like, if you saw Firefly, you better get to it. But he's like, hey, Bernard, I'm sorry. I got to go to the bathroom. And he's looking at him. But because Tim doesn't think Bernard knows, like, it would have played out better if they would have revealed the deal and he could have been like, I have to go to the bathroom. But he just says, I got to go to the bathroom. All right. And they say, okay, they've sat down. This will give us a chance to talk to Bernard. And then they sit there and look at each other's eyes. I'm like, if you actually saw that,
I want to think that this is
Firefly.
A split second within the mind situation where Bernard is thinking about them look at each other, because it's like, he doesn't want to leave me. I don't want him to leave me either, but I know he's got to go. And the idea for a second, I took that as, I know he's got to go to the bathroom. But no.
Yeah, I'm saying he has to take a shit is what
he
happens.
Knows he has to go to do Rob and stuff.
But how would he know that? Because he wasn't facing the way that Tim was facing, so he wouldn't have seen anything.
I think it's just the gesturing out of nowhere, doing superhero, like sus stuff, like, gotta go to the bathroom.
But Tim wouldn't gesture because he doesn't think it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense.
Not the idea that he's gesturing like, hey, baby, I gotta go too. Like, the excuses and stuff like that Bernard would know by knowing for the fact that he is Rob and he could take a hint.
That sometimes people do have to go take a leak. I mean, it's the idea of I got to go to the bathroom. And he's like, oh, I know it.
I'm Bernard. I'm gay and my parents are really disapproving of the situation. They're here now pretty much like on their own, almost to a degree. Like it's all accidental and like a coincidence. But now I'm essentially getting ambushed. Here's my boyfriend. And just imagine if you're Bernard's awful, awful parents where they see him like, oh, here's your little friend. Oh, my boyfriend. I got to go to the bathroom. And then he sprints the fuck off as fast as he can. I'm like, how bad does he have to go to the bathroom?
But in this, like the idea of, oh my God, my parents and, oh, how's your little friend? You could take the idea that Tim's like,
not so little, Mama.
I'm gonna be a distraction.
Get my wrist.
He needs to talk alone. I'm going to give them a chance to cut because he hasn't seen them in over a year, they said.
Yeah.
So maybe they have to kind of get a little bit. I'm going to back off a little. I'll be back. He sprints. Like, it is Usain Bolt going to the bathroom there.
It's a successful pee.
Yeah, that's what Bernard yells out in a restaurant. He's already pushed out that was so fancy. Oh, my God. And he wants to be a chef and own his own restaurant.
Manners. That was incredibly rude. Apologize to your mother now.
I mean, apologize to the mother. Apologize to everybody else.
I'm sitting here eating my salad that cost me $100. Can you please apologize to me?
I mean, they're getting, steak from Salt Bay at this point. You end up where he's yelling this. He's yelling this, and he knows exactly where he is. And no, it gets sexy, I think. But no, so you have this. Now, this is where we go where, okay, well, I think that you guys should apologize to me. You haven't even tried to get a hold of me in over a year. Oh, my God.
Right.
But boom, you have Firefly show up. in an explosion. I mean, people's tables are being knocked over. All this shit's going on. And I point that out because there is a theory going around of what's happening here,
true.
and it can't be true. And I'll tell you what the theory is. Some people are thinking because the way this whole thing plays out and who ends up being involved, that the fire isn't real, that the fire is only being seen by Bernard, but it doesn't make any sense.
God, I wish it was true because it would make everything okay, but there's no way. And the worst part is, it's not true because of what you see in the comic, but because it's not true, it makes the comic even worse because we have Robin fight Firefly. Bernard is actually doing stuff, but...
Well, here's the thing. He runs to the bathroom.
Yeah.
We saw him take off his costume.
Look,
he could have brought it with him.
No,
there's no way.
There's
and so
no
he
way
comes
at all.
out, and he's just fighting Firefly, and the only setup was he may have been looking somewhere with a beatnik. That's it. That's the only setup. And then he's right in the fight as Robin.
Okay,
it makes no sense.
The Robin, the suit makes no sense at all because we saw him having to take it off. It was a big pain in the ass. And then he is fighting Firefly. Bernard is trying to get his parents out of here. The entire place is engulfed in fire. He's going to do one of those magician acts and try to, throw a table over to get things out of the way and, try to put out the fire. None of this is working to the point where all of a sudden his dad is pissed off. You are the big disappointment. I wish you were never born. We could say maybe later on this summer. No, I can't even do that because the whole idea of phobia being there, the fears that the parents had were all about themselves, not even the son. So this is all pure
and so that's the
daddy.
weird play. When I go with this, but I'm going to tell you, that is right there Bernard's fear. He says that later. So how does that work then with phobia? How could it be that it's Bernard's fear happening, but maybe not really? It's forcing. Doesn't make any sense. But even then, I'm telling you, even before that, Tim ends up yelling to Firefly, I know you're working with somebody. How the hell would he know that?
I know. Detective work.
Detective work. He went to the bathroom, put on his costume. Also, you could almost say,
I've got it.
At the beginning, you ended up where, how can I take off my costume? Bernard's yelling, come on, Tim, come on, we have to go. And he's like, oh, well, I'm going to keep it on. I'll put the clothes over it. I've done that before. Great. But never happened. And so everything happens to not happen. Also, the idea that Firefly says, I'm going to burn all these places to the fucking ground because you didn't let me in. That's his motivation. He's been
classic Garfield.
He's been, he doesn't know the right people to get into the fancy restaurants. Then when it is finally revealed that we'll get to it, that phobia is working with, Tim just says you're working with somebody just so it ends up happening. But Phobia's whole motivation is, I like to do crazy shit. That's all phobia is. Like, I'm doing some crazy shit. But the theory is that
find out for yourself,
Bernard is afraid of fire.
Okay.
So the place is not really on fire, but there's no way.
No, the place is engulfed. The thing is,
it's a disco inferno, as I said in my video review. It's crazy.
This is what I'm saying, though. I need this to be real because, and the worst part is, like I said, I know it's not real. The fire is all there. I need this to be something that phobia is doing because it's the only way it makes sense, but it's not there. So Bernard's father says, I wish you were never born. Bernard all of a sudden says, I guess I'm just going to walk out of the fire now and go sulk out in the street. But then all of a sudden, Tim shows up in his, dinner casual freaking wear that he's wearing. No longer Robin. Hey, are you okay? And they hug, they talk things out, they walk away from the restaurant. Then all of a sudden, Tim's like, phobia. Oh shit, I forgot my sweater. I gotta go back. We walked away from a burning restaurant where then Tim is captured when Bernard finally walks back. Firefly and Phobia are both there. Have Robin captured in a flame cage where his parents are in the burning building still fighting with each other because of what Phobia is doing to them. Tim Drake stopped being Robin and walked away from this burning building with two freaking supervillains in there full of people.
You have Bernard, and he gets told, I wish you were never born. He slowly walks and sits down on the steps in front of the restaurant. It's clearly still on fire.
Yes.
It's engulfed in flame. He walks through flame. I mean, he's like Chris Angel in this shit. He's David Blaine. He's walking through fire. He sits down.
Do we have that Buffy song, I'm Gonna Walk Through the Fire, from that Once in a While with Feeling song? Because that was a great song.
The place is still on fire. Tim comes out, and when he comes out to comfort Bernard, it's still on fire. You see flame behind. They hug, and walk away. They walk away and start having conversations to the point where Bernard...
Who is worse, the supervillains or your parents? Am I right?
And I'm looking behind, and I don't know if it's just the light, but it's really an unfortunate deal. It looks like the whole block is burning down at this point. It really does. So they're talking kind of like where Bernard puts his hands behind his head. He's like, whoa, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, you guys walked away from a burning restaurant full of people, and Tim completely left Firefly. He tied him up, but he left him hanging in a burning building. They left. And then you end up out of nowhere, you end up having, and I thought, well, maybe everybody got out, but we go back and we see everybody still in the restaurant. So you end up having Bernard say,
Bernard's parents.
It was like my worst fears happening. Now we get Batman 66. Fears, phobia. Boom. He turns around and runs. Now, in the minute, you end up where Bernard's like, where are you going? Your parents are catching on fire right now and dying. So he ends up chasing Tim. Tim somehow then changes again into his Robin outfit and is stuck in a cage of fire. What the hell? What the hell is even that?
That's Firefly and phobia yuck it up.
Yeah, and also they can make a fire cage. And I want to ask you right now, how does he get out of that fire cage? Because you don't even know.
Pure willpower.
Pure imagination. So you end up, Bernard goes and he looks into the restaurant that's still just ablaze. People are arguing with each other about maybe their greatest fears, but it seems like more of just them being pissed off and like the
I don't want to fuck you anymore. I want to fuck your brother. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm dying. I only have 12 hours left. Well, I'll never have sex with you again. You're like, bitch, I only have 12 hours left, so whatever.
That's a fear. It's not real.
But that's not, like, it's weird, the whole play. But again,
look, I don't know how Phobia's powers are working here, honestly. Like, this is different than normal in my mind.
Because I'm guessing that the dad's pretty much a piece of shit, but Phobia seemed to be working at that point, because even then, that's the clue for Tim. My dad said that's my worst fear. That's my phobia. Oh my God, phobia. And he runs back. So I don't know. Then Bernard goes back. His parents are just screaming about, we're going to get a divorce. We're going to do this. And Bernard does step up and he ends up being nice about it. But then Phobia grabs Bernard by the neck and says, this is that kid that I knew, or actually Firefly does that. He grabs the neck. But what is this? This is that kid with the messed up parents. I
saw this again, and I wanted to go back while you were talking to see, is Phobia in the background of the restaurant scene before all hell breaks loose? He's like, hey, Firefly, this is the kid I was telling you about with the fucked up parents. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Where did that come from? And I think that you could play that, Phobia was like right outside the building or... I don't know. How does it work? I don't know. And then these people were saying, oh, you got it wrong. The phobia is the fire. It's not really on fire. I'm like, so Firefly's just going around waving the flamethrower around. It's not. It's on fire.
If there's no real fire, why would we have a Phobia Firefly team up? Why not just use Phobia if that was your only goal?
Oh, yeah, exactly. And then how is Tim in a fire cage? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Phobia.
This makes no damn sense. Is that the combo of the powers? They make a combo attack. But in that, you have Bernard.
It's like when Mega Man steals Robot Master's powers and it's not as cool as Robot Master has. It's a little different.
The weird play is you end up having to have Bernard in danger, which you can seriously have a lot of different ways. But you end up, Firefly grabs him by the neck. And then Phobia says, this is that punk I told you about earlier with the messed up parents. What? Well, that doesn't make sense. That allows then suddenly Tim's out of that fire cage.
Aha!
One punch, one kick, done. It's done.
And this time, I'm sticking around until the GCPD gets here. I'm like, you should have did that before because we had a burning building full of people.
And this is the problem now, where people are saying about the deal, the building doesn't look like it's on fire anymore.
No.
How did it go out? But there's fire damage to the building. So what is going on? Like, who put out the fire? I mean, the idea of the GCPD, screw that. Where's the fire company? We need them. And where are they? I mean, there is what looked like a whole block on fire. Nobody's showing up. Nobody's doing anything. Tim is suddenly in costume, out of costume. Everybody, Phobia knows. It doesn't make any damn sense.
But all the bullshit is behind us because now he can get back to character moments where Bernard tells Tim how he feels about him, gives him a necklace and tells him how he's his gay awakening, this entire thing. This moment between these two He gives him a little, like, a chain with a little B on it. Does that stand for Bernard or boyfriend? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It is a show of love between Tim and Bernard that is done the best way it has ever been done since Tim has become bi. And I just wish we could have gotten this kind of storytelling throughout the whole thing, because I don't know what happened for our action portions of the book.
I'll tell you the whole idea of when people are upset, and if you are, that's fine, that's your thing. The idea of having, hey, Tim is bi, came out late, that happens. It does happen in life. But you do have to show people that there's a progression to it and give character work so they can, be done with it. This series should have been the deal where at this point, we had a lot of character work, understood what was going on and whatnot, but this book's a fucking mess.
Maybe just gone through the journey with Tim for his, bio awakening to realize who he's been this whole time, how it reflects on the character, and what it might mean to somebody who is realizing this themselves through a comic book. Something along those lines to make this progression feel like it meant something and not just a goddamn way to sell a comic book by saying, oh yeah, he's bi now.
Yeah, and seriously, there's a lot of stuff that you have to, recognize in this book. There's a lot of people having all these ideas or whatever. But for me, when I went in to review this, I ended up afterwards and I did a video on the site and on YouTube. And I kind of got this idea, like, there's lines drawn that suddenly if you don't like this book, you're just a hater that doesn't, and I ended up telling this one guy, I said, listen, overall, now, there's always exceptions, but overall, if you are honestly reviewing a book, because you like something doesn't make you better, and because you don't like it doesn't make you worse. This is a review of a comic, and this is one of the worst written superhero comics I've ever read. Megan Fitzmartin does not understand any sort of thing with superheroes, how to do progression. But the stuff with Bernard was nice. I said it was nice. I said in my review, and people were losing their mind on me.
Finally, it's nice. So we've had the status quo for a while now that I've wanted to see it explored, and all of a sudden the book's already fucking canceled, so how much more are we going to get from the situation? We finally get it, but it's just spread out through nonsense with the action.
I'll even go more of what I was saying. By the end, a nice moment at the end of something that you might have been waiting for this whole time in the series does not wipe away that bullshit in this issue. There was legitimately in this issue, Megan Fitzmartin thinks that Tim Drake Robin is somebody that would walk away from a building that's on fire with innocent people inside.
And his boyfriend's parents inside, too.
And Bernard, yeah, and that's the thing. And I even went when I was trying to figure out, well, if it is Bernard just thinking that, well, then Bernard still walked away from a building that was on fire with people innocent, but it was on fire. They walked away. They were sitting hugging on the stairs of a building that was on fire with innocent people caught in there. And when they went back, they were still in there.
Got turned over from a gigantic fire explosion when Firefly did show up.
And when you look, I said, there's fire damage on the walls and things like that. I know how that is, Eric. I had a lot of
phobia damage.
Yeah, really, I'm like, I think my phobia came to play. The phobia of reading shit-ass comics, because this sucked. And again, really nice. The best moments of this series is at the end and a little bit at the beginning, but hey, you're physics biology chef. By the end, and here's...
I got real feels at the end.
Well, here's where I can give you, it's a compliment, but it's also an insult, because at the end, Eric, it's that you're ugly as shit and I hate your guts. There you go.
Where's the compliment?
The compliment was that I'm actually talking to you. You should be happy about that. But at the end...
Oh, okay.
The stuff with Tim and Bernard is really, really good. But the thing is, that seems like that's all she wants to do, and she's writing a superhero comic. But I'm saying overall, even that first whole arc, that was nonsense, because she does not know how to write a comic. I'm not even saying superhero comics. She doesn't get the progression, the setup, or anything.
When we had the Batman Urban Legend, that was awfully done. All of a sudden, Bernard's part of a fucking death cult. None of that made any goddamn sense. And then all of a sudden we had the continuation. Okay, now Tim is doing Dark Crisis, Young Justice stuff. We got to talk about when Tim kissed Wonder Girl and then Superboy was dead. And none of that made sense. It was resolved fucking 20 years ago. It's maybe 10 years, 15 maybe. I forget. It's been a long ass time is all I'm trying to get at. And now Tim Drake has his own series, and we had to deal with Tim's got a barge of some weird people that live around the boat marina area, and we got the Moriartys here, and Bernard and him are dating, but you don't really get anything out of it, and now you have a chance. It took that long for us to finally get a chance to see them as a relationship that made sense for somebody who, like, It's the idea. You make the Kim character bi. People lose their minds because people are bigoted. They don't want their character to be something that they're not, so they're going to be upset about it. It's bisexual. It's not a big fucking deal. The character can be, and I'm telling you, I was thinking about today at work where it's almost the idea where do you piss everybody off? Because for years and years, I'm telling you, for 30 years now, or maybe 20 years, people have been shipping Connor Kent and Tim Drake this entire time, saying they're gay lovers, all this other stuff. And I'm like, well, now you made him bi. Well, it's not enough because he's not fucking Connor. I just like, and people are pissed off if you do, but the idea is, this is the character. You need to show the progression of what it means to say this and make it make sense for the character who had been established the whole time, because people do come out as bi. It's like the idea of John Kent being trapped in a volcano for 7 years. Oh my God, that's horrific. He had to be subjected to Ultraman. He came out, had no ramifications, never had any kind of like emotional drama, any kind of journey to get over this. It's just like, Tim's bi. All right, let's move on. I'm like, where is the drama? Where is the storytelling? Because you're failing on the aspects of the media that you're actually putting out right now, and I don't understand how that could actually happen.
Yeah, and it's just the deal. Like, I even yelled about it, all the time, every time that Marina and Moriarty and things like that, where I kept telling you, like, we're supposed to care about these people in the marina. They don't know shit about any of them because they never were introduced. Then Moriarty at the end, it's like, it's James. You have to sit there and like, James? Oh, the landlord. Oh, you mean the guy who just showed up this issue almost? He was there, but he
was like 2 issues ago, and he's like, hey, this is a cipher. Oh, thanks, James.
Yeah, thanks, James. What happened to the idea? Oh, no, that bad councilman is taking this and that. We don't have jobs. Nothing works.
We'll worry about that tomorrow. Tonight is date night.
When you're doing that throughout those this 7th issue, but through those 6 issues, you can have a page or two where you could have had some character moments with Tim and Bernard, and with that, have them where they're having a big bonfire at the fucking marina, right? And then you can introduce them. She never did it. She never gave character work. So in this, when we get that beginning of physicist, but did you have any idea that he was going to college and doing all this stuff? She never said it.
Chef.
And then she has to throw like everything, like, oh, he wants to be a chef and own a restaurant, but he's in college. What? Like, well, how's that happening? Like, really? And so by the end, it's just a little too late. I mean, you ended up having nice moments, and then at the very end, you do have his mom texting. Like, and the funny play is they go home, and I'm like, what ye old castle do you live in? I mean, did you have to go over a moat to get there? Look at that place.
This entire time you've been talking, since I finally shut up about Tim coming out as bi, been staring at the page. It's a long stone brick hallway with 3 open doors. Bernard's mother stands in front of the first door. Her father walks past her to the second door, slams that door shut. We still have a third door. Is that Bernard's room?
Yeah, it has to be. Well, Bernard's room, it's his cell.
It's a long stone hallway with 3 freaking doors. And I'm like, what is this home?
That's the down home. I know you're supposed to be like fancy and
I
shit,
expect
but
the childminder being here, freaking grabbing kids and throwing them in there.
That's what I think. They go and Judy's there running on the treadmill. Keep going, Judy. Yeah, they slammed the dead. Now again,
please come home,
the
Bernard.
play of is she upset because of what he said to Bernard, or is she upset of what they were yelling at each other with?
I think she's just upset that she hasn't talked to her son in a year.
And then she says, Bernard, I'm so sorry, come home, please. I'm like, no, that dad. Like, she's not saying, hey, I had enough of your dad. Hey, I told him this or that. Just come home. I'm not going back to that dungeon. Look at that place. But yeah, the whole play of this
takes a lot of money to make a home look like a dungeon like this.
When we end up doing, these books, and we go through a lot of phases of characters changing, and whether or not people think it's like out of the blue or it shouldn't be, whatever. Me and you, as we're doing this, that we're reviewing the books, we're reviewing the story. So if things change, you kind of have to go with it, and you review it with that. So with that in mind, she ends up where it doesn't seem like she knows anything about these characters, but yet hasn't even developed the other thing that she put in there. Yeah. It's just such a weird play. Like, you end up where people are mad about him being bi. The only thing that upsets me about it is it almost felt like at a point that was a shortcut to just make Tim her character, and then she could just go on and not really have to look into things. Because
tell those stories.
Yeah, she hasn't looked into how to write a comic. She might be great at whatever else, but she does not know comic book pacing. She definitely doesn't know setup, and she doesn't know character work. It's everything that is basic, too. And a lot of times people who liked the book said, oh, man, like, they wanted this to fail. Riley Rossmo, if it had better art. You're not going to get much better art than this. Maybe Dan Moore comes on, but this is incredible art. I think it's fantastic. And
Little
it's still a mess.
Progression, but yeah.
I don't know if it's just because, I mean, if the script is what's being told here, I don't know what the hell you
Honestly,
can draw at points.
It could go either way for me, but I don't know who to blame.
Like, just imagine you have this deal where it's like Tim is in a fire cage. You have this, and then the next deal is Tim, kicks and punches. Like, how do you progress that? It's a mess.
I'm going to punch the fire.
It's a mess. I just have to reiterate the idea that Tim Drake Robin walks away from a burning building with people inside. And that's horrific. That should not ever happen with a character like this. And I don't know. Tim didn't feel like it was like he was dumb or anything. I saw some people say, like, this ends up showing Tim as an idiot, but I don't know why he's walking away from that building. He's just looking in Bernard's eyes. He's lost in his eyes. But with all that, what would you give it?
It's a weird thing to give this because I do love the art, even with some of my progression issues that I had. Like, again, I don't know if that's writing or the art or however it works out. I just know that I had some issues with it. Well, I think the book looked great overall. I love the Tim and Bernard stuff because it is the progression to things that actually feel like it matters in this book and not just a one-off supervillain bullshit story. Because when we deal with the one-off supervillain bullshit story, all of that is a goddamn mess. It's almost impossible to follow. People are coming with theories because of how impossible to fucking follow it is to try to make it make sense. I'm telling
you, there's like 800 theories because it makes no sense.
It's such a weird idea, though, because I really love aspects to this book. And I gave that one issue of Tim Drake Robin a 7 out of 10, even though I didn't care for the art. And it just seemed like Megan Fitzmartin was doing some almost, some fan service ideas about Tim Drake, which maybe it worked on me because, like, okay, it seems like you actually know the character.
You thought that was she turning the tables, right?
Exactly. It seems like you know some insight on how Tim Drake feels about the other Robins, his place in the Bat Family, all of that, and it felt like it could be someone. We completely abandoned that aspect of the story after that. But I gave that a 7 out of 10, and I can't give this a 7 out of 10, even though I love aspects of this book more. It's a big conundrum for me. I don't want to go to a 5.5, but I could go as high as a 5.5, but I want to give it a 5 overall.
I'm sitting there. Fuck you. Fuck your chicken strips, my friend. I'm sitting there listening to you and knowing my score. I'm just like, you're really trying to, like, you want to be positive about it. I'm giving it a 2 out of 10, Eric.
I need to be positive about the positive aspects of the book.
You had Tim Drake walk away from a burning book. I can't get past that. That is awful. You don't have to, like, sit there and think that one thing made this book fail. This book is one of the worst written books I've ever read in 7 issues. It's all over the place. Nothing. The writing is so bad that if anything was taken out, Tim Drake completely straight as an arrow, this book would have failed. It would have failed. It's so bad with that. We're talking about a book where you said everybody who read it had a different idea of what the fuck was going on because it made no sense, no progression, no setup. And at the end, I'm like, they walked away from that. They're sitting in front of the thing. It's on fire. I'm like, the flames are still going. Firefly's hanging up by the roof. Flames are going. He's going to end up dying. You said you don't care about Firefly.
He's got
that, but he also has to watch people burn to death. And I guess he likes that. He's into that shit.
Yeah.
And again, remember, the motivation is, you didn't let me in your fancy restaurants, and then Phobia, who just out of nowhere, Phobia's there. I just like to fuck around. I'm having fun.
I had a free night.
And they're like, this is the greatest team up, Firefly and Phobia. I'm like, no. I wish he even had something where they came up with like a duo team name.
Or just at least talk about Phobia, because that's pulling a character out of your ass that no fucking, like, casual reader's going to know about.
The casual reader, all she's thinking of is what character can make the parents be awful to Bernard to upset him. That's all it was. And she's like, oh, Phobia.
I even feel like Phobia's powers are weird here, the way they're presented anyway.
They're really weird. You end up having that weird deal of, like, if my biggest fear is you dying in a car wreck, and I see that, but your like, how does that work out when you have your biggest fear, but I see you dying in a car?
No, my biggest fear is dying in a car wreck, so we're good.
Well, there we go. They're completely good. You know what I mean? Like, you have to go by the perspective of the person, and it started getting wonky. And even then, people were wondering, was Phobia around then? How did Tim say, I know you're working with somebody? I mean, at that point, Firefly just comes in and lights the place up and says, You didn't let me in. That seems like weird, Firefly, but it didn't seem like he was working with something. He wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary. You know, he's setting things on fire. That's what he does. So at the end, I'm like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck?
Remember we had that story where Firefly was working like with a new Firefly, a protege, and it was a double duo that was working for Two-Face? I like that idea.
Yeah,
Why can't we get back to two Fireflies?
Actually, that was good. And again, I like when you end up having villains like in that story where even in Flash and stuff with Heatwave, when you have it where you get more from the character than just, I'm burning shit down. Burn, baby. And then there was even parts with the idea that Megan Fitzgerald, oh man, sorry about the puns. I'm like, stop it. And the book's going to be stopped. And at the
Firefly
end,
just comes in here like with Scorpio in The Simpsons with a flamethrower.
yeah, that's what it is. At the end of this, though, where people, they came out and people were celebrating the idea that the book is canceled. Hey, I'm a Tim Drake fan. I'm glad this shit is over. Please, you better be worried that DC just doesn't think that Tim Drake doesn't succeed in a regular book. This might end up just
the greatest Robin of all time.
And Tim can't work in a solo book. And why can't he? In this, because the writing's awful.
The 90s disagree.
The writing is awful. I know. The writing's awful here. It's just the writing. The writing is so bad, and that's what DC has to know. DC doesn't have to think Tim Drake can't win, Tim Drake can't have a book, Tim Drake whatever. It's that you have to get better writers. Is this your book of the week, Eric? Is this your book of the week? Because what is your book of the week?
My book of the week is Stargirl, The Lost Children, #5.
Mine is actually that as well. Actually, I was going into this book.
Like, do you remember what your scores are?
I actually was so excited to say that Action Comics was mine because of the whole idea of the dawn of DC. But no, it was Stargirl and The Lost Children. We really, the thing is, when we were going through that issue, all we kept saying how charming it was, and we love those kids, and it's so that wins me over all the time. And so help me God, Eric, if those kids get lost again, I will lose my mind. Is what's going on.
Don't
it's Jimmy
worry.
and his
We'll
lost
find
mind.
him.
I need those kids, but people are already afraid. The idea of having way too many characters go into that JSA book. What we said, if you're not on the Patreon, but if you want to be and listen to our Patreon spotlights, Eric, that range between hour to 2 hours each week, 2 books picked by the badasses of the Get Fresh crew. Go to patreon.com/weird science. And we were going through all these things, and me and you just want a young JSA book. That's all we want now. We want all those characters on and have a clubhouse, right? Have all the shit going on. I love it. Play some D&D like we were talking between things. But yeah, it'd be really good. But again, 2 books each week picked by the badasses, the Get Fresh crew on our Patreon. And 2 of these books that I'm going to tell you that come out next week will be on the Patreon. I will give you my picks, and they'll be wrong, Eric. But only 6 books, so there'll only be 4 on the regular show, Eric. You get Friday off.
Hooray!
Congratulations, Eric. You did it. Here are the books. Adventures of Superman John Kent, #2.
Which
Eric
I look forward
said,
to.
yeah, I didn't know if you were going to say that or not when I was going through them with you before we started doing this. You said that you're looking forward to that. So,
like, I hope that book can be everything I want it to be because all the story concepts are solid and everything that I want to see a John Kent book tackle.
Yeah, and hopefully Tom Taylor, because he kind of meanders a bit. He knows this is 6 issues, so get to it. So hopefully he does. But the next deal, Batman 134. Both of us are looking forward to this. Yeah, we really liked the last issue. We were really excited about it. And I don't know if nobody's told me anything about this issue coming up. I haven't looked at it, nothing. So I'm excited for that. We have Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo, #6.
People are looking forward to that.
The Darling. I keep having people tell me, and it's weird.
It's not terrible. It's just not something I care about, ultimately.
People have latched onto that book so much that they start claiming that it's like the best book of the last 10 years. I'm like, no. It was started getting written 10 years ago, but it's not the best book of the last 10 years. But they love it so much. But really, when I ask them, because I want to crack the code as well. Oh, well, what do you like about it? A lot of them just, I just like it. It's better than the other books. I'm like, that's not really an explanation. And again, anybody can like or hate anything with me, but you have to kind of have an opinion and some thought behind it, you know. Hopefully an educated opinion, but an opinion at least, not just, I guess it is an opinion. I like it more than the other, but that's what some guy legitimately told me. He's like, but what it seemed, there was a tinge of hate for the other books, as if like DC's doing bullshit, but this is the only book that's good. And at this moment, that's not true. There are a lot more good books right now than we had, say, a year ago. And I'm here for them, Eric. They not a lot of them tonight, but I'm here for them eventually. Here's a book that you love. You want to marry. It's Poison Ivy, number 11.
At one point, that book was really good. It fell off its path a long time ago.
I told you. I was told I had a vendetta. I was right.
No,
you
that's
end
true.
up where you're doing that whole crazy spa deal and nonsense and HR. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe when that book eventually does get back to Gotham, I don't know why, but maybe it will get better. I don't know. The Flash number 796. We're looking forward to that.
The finale to the 1 Minute War.
Yeah, so we have a lot of things going on. What's up with Wally? Right? What's up with
He's in Planet Flash.
What's up with Iris? What's up with all this stuff? We're going to have to see. Will Barry's crazy plan be crazy enough to work there?
Hopefully.
I don't know. I hope so, too.
I just think it's going to be Gold Beetle saving the day out of nowhere.
It might be. I maybe we'll get an explanation of what's going on in Planet Flash, like more into that. I don't know. We'll have to see.
It's a weird detour for that series out of nowhere.
I know. Maybe we'll actually start this next series. Oh, wait a minute. It's an issue number 7. The Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing, number 7. Maybe that will get going.
Solomon Grundy there is feeding rats to faux Joker. It's got to be great, though. It's Solomon Grundy, because whenever he shows up and pairs with somebody, I have a good time. So hopefully that continues with this issue.
My guess, Eric, is that we don't see much of Solomon Grundy. I think that this book, Matthew Rosenberg, is a hack. That's just my, educated opinion. The idea of the story, we have a whole trade. I said it over and over.
Bad,
I'll say over and over that we have 6 issues behind us in a trade that the most memorable thing that anybody will remember is Butt Baby Joker. That's all they'll remember from it.
I try not to remember
and
that.
That's a backup nonsense story, and that's the only thing that people will remember from that. And I'm saying people are reading the book because I don't really remember much overall. I do end up finding
last issue
out.
was Joker in L.A. doing all those LAX jokes.
Yeah, I think that we're still there
awful.
because he never left. We have to still deal with it. I hope that there better not be any LA. I do remember now, Eric, that's where Punchline joined the Legion of Doom. You were right with that in issue 3. We talked about that earlier tonight. So, yeah, those are the books. So 2 of those, I would believe that what we'll have on the Patreon Spotlight is Adventures of Superman John Kent. And the
1 Minute War finale, the Flash.
Yeah, that's what I think we'll get. Maybe Batman, but Batman never really gets picked, right? Well, Deadly Duo will be good. Get that the hell done.
That's
early, right?
People love that book.
They do, but so maybe it's better on the Patreon so they don't hear us not like it. But oh well,
that's the thing.
See.
We keep giving it decent scores. It's just not something we love and talk about like so as highly as other things we enjoy.
I think that it's decent enough, except the story it's just convoluted. It's so out of I don't know. It doesn't really make sense. I can't even think like the full deal. We got the teeth and the ears, right?
Look, what if Jigsaw kidnapped people and made stem cell clones of the Joker?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's a stem cell Jigsaw that kind of makes you have teeth in your shoulder at point, and then brings his daughter back from the dead. There you go, Eric.
Sometimes
end. We don't even have to reveal it. Yeah, we'll see with Jacob in that Dark Knights of Steel.
Hey, we have a wedding to go to this issue. I know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That'll be a big one. So we'll see how this goes. We'll see how it goes. But I hope that everybody enjoyed listening to the podcast tonight as much as I enjoyed talking to Eric Shea. That's a lie, but I hope everybody can lie to themselves about liking it as well. But please, as we said, go over to the Patreon, patreon.com/WeirdScience. Help us out for all we do here and get a ton of shows. I was actually I looked up on the Patreon, and anybody can do this. Go to the Patreon, just blank page, and just hit like comics or DC Comics, and then go down and look at the posts that people have, the amount. And then when you hit us, you'll see that we do a little bit more. I'm telling you, I'm going down this list, and it's like 100, 250. Okay, and then we get to ours, it's almost 4,000 now. Yep. And I'm like, holy crap, what the hell? I got to get not free time. I got to get something to do. But yeah, I actually, again, when we used to have the podcast that would last 12 hours, that was a bit of pride, at least for me. I used to love, so now I'm shifting it to, we do so much there. So yeah, go over there. It's neat over there. And then you get to go in the Slack, and then I could yell about you on the podcast. That's how it goes. But also go to our website. That's one of the big caveats of being a Patreon. I get to yell about you, that you drove me nuts in the Slack because you liked something I didn't and wouldn't listen to my opinion. Right?
I try to stay out of it. I don't know what you're doing.
I gave an applause and a pat on the back to everyone. I told you this in the Slack this week because I do like that when I go in. We don't want it to be where you show up, Eric shows up, and somebody's like just saying how they hated the Flash, and Eric shows up, man, that Flash is great, and then the guy flip-flops just because it's you. And it's not like that. People give me so much shit. There's even a channel. I think I got rid of the channel.
Oh, no Lame James channel?
There's a Lame James Give Lame James Shit channel. People like to give me shit. But if that's the thing, when we're in there, I sometimes think to myself, am I really serving a good purpose here, arguing with somebody in this about it? But most people are there to kind of talk and argue about comics. And usually by the end, everybody kind of grabs a little bit of the other's opinion and I bring it here and yell about you. But then you go to our website, WeirdScienceDCComics.com. Speaking of yelling, you get Gabe's reviews over there. And
Yay.
Some of mine. I told you I was coming back, and I came back with a vengeance. I came back with the biggest book of the week, Blue Beetle.
You did it.
I'm doing that. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to do it different. I'm going to do it kind of like what everybody else does. Even at one point, I sent you one of those AI things that I put in the things to have an AI review, and I swear it's better than half the reviews you see on Comic Book Roundup. But then I go and sit down to do my review, and I'm like, why did I just spend an hour and a half on Blue Beetle? Because I'm doing jokes. I don't know how to do it, Eric. I don't know how to do it, but also go over to our YouTube channel where I do some videos as well. And that is Weird Science Comics, and that has manga, Marvel, and DC, all of that all rolled up into one over there, and some video reviews, some commentaries, right? Little thing, shows. I might have Eric on as a guest sometime. I'm going to interview him about his toys, maybe.
No, I'm not going to do that because you're just going to make fun of me the entire time.
Well, that's what it would be. It'd be great.
I don't need to be ambushed.
I railroad ambush you into it. Like, I'm like, this will be great. And it's like the worst freaking thumbnail that you could ever have. It's you with like in your underwear with like spaghetti sauce on your chest. I don't know why.
I know why.
Oh, that'd be great. But thanks everybody again for listening. That is it. And Eric, what do we say at the end of the show?
Everybody have a great week. Keep it weird. And we'll see you in 7.
See you in 7.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.